Hello, everyone. Bob here, other man on the microphone. Please identify yourself.
Hello, my identity is Matty.
You identify as Matty. Okay, good for you. We're all happy for you. Right, so today we're going to be covering a topic which hasn't got any coverage on the internet at the moment whatsoever.
None
Absolutely
at all.
none. And nobody's talking about this. So, we thought we'd be original and, we give this thing a bit of love. It's called The Book of Boba Fett.
A bit of love.
A bit of love, yeah, a bit of attention. Yeah.
Yeah. It's gonna get so much love from me.
It's when you're something like Book of Boba Fett with an IP like Star Wars and you get absolutely no attention whatsoever, even negative attention is, good, right? Okay, fine. But everyone's been talking about the show. Everyone has some kind of opinion on it, myself included. Some people like it, some people think it's just very generic, and some people absolutely hate it. Now, obviously, by the end of this, you will probably know where we fall on that scale. They're probably a little bit different. I guess we better get started with before the show. So, what do we know about the character of Boba Fett?
We know that he is a bounty hunter, that he doesn't take shit from no one. He has a jetpack that malfunctions very easily.
Yeah, okay, yeah,
To
that's
be honest, I'm not massively clued up on Boba Fett apart from he's a bad guy, he likes killing people, and he is a bounty hunter. And that's sort of about. I don't think he has much characterization beyond that to start with, as far as I know. I know there's probably a lot in extended media, but I've not paid attention to literally any extended media at all.
okay. Fair enough. I mean, I'd say that's basically the bare bone minimum of what someone just going into this show or this franchise would kind of know about Boba Fett. But obviously, I think what we know from the movies is that he's obviously the clone, the son of a very esteemed bounty hunter called Jango Fett, who was obviously around in the prequel era.
Yeah, and he watched his
Uh,
dad die, didn't he?
well, yeah, no, he did in Attack of the Clones. Yeah, so Jango Fett, also played by Tamara Morrison, who plays in Boba Fett in the show, obviously agreed to be the template for the clone army, but under the condition that he had an unaltered clone for himself that he could keep as a son, and obviously that turned out to be Boba Fett.
You want to clone me?
Imagine an army of clones, the training of which you will oversee. They will be modified to grow at twice the rate of ordinary men, and will be programmed for absolute loyalty.
Apart from his pay, which is considerable, Fett demanded only one thing: an unaltered clone for himself. Curious, isn't it?
Unaltered?
Pure genetic replication, no tampering with the structure to make it more docile, and no growth acceleration.
Yeah, so the whole thing with Geonosis, where Jango Fett, I assume, was hired to just sort of stick around, I guess.
Yeah, I guess he was there in case they needed to. Like, if it's a cloning facility, I presume they want to keep the prime specimen in there, just like so if they can like if there's like a malfunction or something, they've got the guy on hand to provide whatever is needed to help them. I would presume.
Yeah, and obviously, I guess it kind of served as their home, their base of operations. But no, so that planet is Camino. That's the water planet. So that's
Yeah,
where
yeah. I don't know any names, so I will be referring to everything by its description. That's the water planet to me.
honestly, I'm really glad we're not talking about the sequels. Otherwise, it literally would be the desert planet.
Yeah,
Which
that's the
one? There's
desert
like
planet.
three.
That's the green planet. That's the
Yeah,
planet
and
with the shipwreck.
well, no, well, thankfully, there's not. I mean, as you know, there's not that many planets we need to remember for this show. 'Cause it primarily takes place on like one.
Yeah, it's
Um,
on a Tatooine. I, I, I have opinions about Tatooine now that I will share when we get there.
oh yeah, don't worry, we got plenty of time. So okay, well, so back to Boba Fett. Obviously, he watched his dad die on Geonosis to the hand of Mace Windu.
Which is gonna foster quite a lot of resentment towards Jedi.
Yes, no, it has, and obviously, I'm gonna attempt just mainly for your sake to not touch too much on things like the Clone Wars and the expanded media, but obviously that was explored a little bit with Boba Fett seeking revenge against Mace Windu and everything, and that was sort of the first sort of glimpse that you got into him really collaborating with other bounty hunters. It's like child Boba Fett. It's not like him as like an adult. They actually got the same guy who played child Boba Fett to come back to do some voice work, which is pretty cool. In terms of what we know about the character, I guess like that's sort of the foundation. And the first appearance we actually see from Boba Fett in canon, obviously we had the parade appearance and the Star Wars Holiday Special, which don't really count at all. But his first canonical appearance in terms of release was The Empire Strikes Back, where he was hired by Darth Vader to find the Millennium Falcon, which of course we know he did. Obviously then we just see him on Cloud City to collect the prize for Jabba, and again, like I feel like that's sort of where a lot of the assumptions about the character started, rightfully so, because
that's where he appeared first.
Well, yeah, but like obviously from what's carried over from then, like until today, because you see him in that, and he is like he's a man of few words. He's very mysterious. He seems like he goes places. He gets the job done. He makes sure he can look out for himself the best he can. He even like talks back to Darth Vader at one point, which obviously is quite a big power move.
So it's a guy that doesn't take any shit, basically.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. No,
like if you're gonna talk back to Darth Vader, I can't see why you wouldn't hesitate to take the life of a Tusken Raider that was beating you senselessly.
Yeah, very true. And don't worry, we're nearly there. So yeah, okay. So those are the ground rules. So that's the groundwork kind of laid out for us anyway. That's the sort of character we're dealing with. But I think it is very important before we get into the show to point out another time we saw him before the show, and that was in The Mandalorian. Obviously, he first appeared at the beginning of season 2, and he didn't really have anything to do. He just sort of turned away and walked off. A bit like a Luke Skywalker in The Force Awakens. It's just like, hey, I'm here, and then cliffhanger.
Yeah, great.
Obviously, that just acted as more of like an announcement that the character's returned and everything. But then obviously he got his proper debut in episode 6 of season 2, and that was in the episode The Tragedy, where not only is it revealed that he has the Slave One still, he has his ship, but he's also looking for his armor, and he gets it back from Mando, and obviously we find out that Fennec is alive as well.
Oh wait, is that why he was in Mando? He was looking for his armor?
Yeah, because Mando had it, yeah.
But
then...
Oh yeah, I guess... Oh, but that's not a problem. Because there's another problem where he sees his armor gets taken and then he forgets who took it for no reason.
Yeah, but then he knows that Mando had it, so then he followed him.
How did he know that?
Sorry, what?
How did he know that Mando had it?
Because he saw him ride away with it on the speeder. You know that reveal at the end where he was looking down and then he like turns away and he's like, yeah. So we'll get back to So that was it. So obviously the episode he was introduced in, that was sort of the Boba Fett I was imagining in my head. You know, going around fucking ripping stormtroopers' faces off, like smashing their armor, like stabbing them up and everything. Like
a bad guy.
Yes, he was a badass motherfucker.
A villain.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
That was sort of the Boba Fett I had in my mind. And obviously that reveal where he comes back and with his armor and then tears people up, it was just great. It's exactly what I wanted from a return as the character, return of the character Boba Fett. And also very interestingly, this episode that brought Boba Fett back and actually introduced him again was directed by Robert Rodriguez, who is a leading director on this show. But we'll talk more about him very, very soon. So yeah, there you go. I think we've got kind of all the pre-info before coming into this.
Yeah. So we've established he's a bad guy. He doesn't put up with stuff, and he's happy to clap back at authority figures, and he very much is looking out for himself. Like he's not a community. He's not a man of the community. He's a man to make his own gains and secure himself over anyone else.
I mean, he said it himself.
I'm a simple man making his way through the galaxy.
Episode 1, Book of Boba Fett, is titled Stranger in a Strange Land. Directed by Robert Rodriguez. And it opens up, it seems to be right where The Mandalorian Season 2 ended, with the post-credit scene. And at this point, I can only be thankful that I stuck around for that end credit scene. Otherwise, I'd be very, very confused. It's like, oh, Jabba's palace, and oh, he's just there taking a bath. Like, oh,
Is he in the Bacta tank? Is that what it is?
yeah. So they have these shots of the exterior and the interior of Jabba's palace, and then it goes in the Bacta tank, and he is obviously having flashbacks to obviously his time on Camino as a child, and then later on he picks up the helmet of his newly deceased father, Jango Fett. But the thing is pretty effective because it shows. I think it gives more to the character in that sense that he's still affected by his childhood and by the death of his father. Like, and that's almost sort of like a legacy that he's still holding on to with the professions that he's taken later on in life. So I think as an opening, that's pretty cool. I don't have any issues there. Like, obviously there's not really much to talk about there, but what there is there, like, I think it's good. I mean, what do you think?
There is stuff to talk about there because, like, we've seen with Disney and the way they handle Star Wars. When they first started, they wouldn't touch the prequels at all. They would act as though the prequels don't exist. And it's kind of indicative of how sort of desperate they are now that they're literally showing prequel footage in their mainline shows.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, that is a very good point. Yeah, it's definitely something that's slowly but surely kind of been creeping back into the Star Wars kind of dashboard, if you will, kind of like the main face, because. Yeah, you're right. I mean, especially when the sequel started out, it was almost like, you know, they didn't even acknowledge them at all. Really,
yeah.
I mean,
to the point where they would go on about how they're not using CGI, they're doing the good stuff. We're not gonna have all of anything prequel based, and now it's like we've milked that dry. We now need to pull from the prequel nostalgia.
Yeah, and also I wonder if it has anything to do with. Okay, so put it this way: when Disney first bought Star Wars, you know, I mean, I was only in my kind of early to mid-teens when they first bought Star Wars.
Oh wow!
But now I think it's been long enough that like I feel like the kids who grew up with the prequels have finally sort of reached adulthood or sort of
that probably plays into it.
So now that the fans of the prequels have and the people who grew up with them have more of a voice, it's not really something that I feel like they can ignore anymore like they could before. If that makes any sense.
I think it's a mixture of that and they've run out of OT nostalgia to base stuff off of. I think they've
capitalize on basically. Yeah, ching ching. But yeah, anyway, we're about, I don't know, we're probably about 10 frames into this episode, so let's trudge on through.
But also, I've got to carry on this point. They're re-showing us the trauma that Boba experienced in those moments. So the shots they picked were the ones on the water planet with his father. With his father flying away. And then they picked the shot where they're showing his father dying. So they're clearly trying to enforce some kind of message with that. Like, they're not picking any scenes of violence. They're picking connect with this child. His dad left him somewhere, and the next time he saw him, he was fucking dead.
Yeah, which to be honest, I don't mind that side of it too much. Like that is one thing that they kind of incorporated here, which, you know, by itself I don't mind. What I don't really like is how they kind of didn't really do anything with that, but
I think
forward.
I think what they were trying to do was they were trying to build him because they wanted to make the Tuscans into his family. So they were probably trying to show the death of his old family to show that he longs for a new family, as it were.
Yeah, no, that's very right. I think there's some dialogue later on in the show which would definitely back that claim up. But yeah, actually, now that you mentioned the Tuscans, we then get to the point where Boba Fett is in the Sarlacc pit, which is, we know, where he ended up at the end of Return of the Jedi.
Yes,
And
and he's only not dead because of the Beskar, which is incredibly irritating.
yeah, because that's the only thing that slowed his that obviously slowed his death.
Yeah, well, it's a
stalled it.
It's stated later that the Beskar stopped the acid from killing him. But he's not fully covered in Beskar. There's tons of areas of which aren't Beskar covered. So how did the acid not filter through those areas and get into his system?
Because, well, did you know that Beskar is magnetic to blaster bolts and is also magnetic to Sarlacc stomach acid. So
anything hostile is automatically just attracted to Beskar.
Yeah,
Nothing can avoid the Beskar.
Magnetized to it, basically, yeah.
Yeah, but it's really irritating because, like, you can have Beskar as this sort of like, oh yeah, it's impenetrable, but the fact that there's so little of it still gives you vulnerabilities, but taking away the fact that those vulnerabilities don't exist just sort of nullifies any sort of tension for anybody that's wearing Beskar.
Yeah, no, of course, and like, yeah, I feel like the use of Beskar has definitely been abused as it's kind of gone on, especially since the beginning of the Mandalorian. I mean, I feel like it sort of began. It began being kind of like a close call sort of mechanic. I never remember it being used so consistently to where people were just getting showered with blaster bolts and then like being fine. Like,
yeah,
I feel like in the beginning of the Mandalorian it was sort of like a lucky escape tactic, but then they really started going ham with it in Mandalorian season 2, and then now with this show. Now that we're on the topic of Boba Fett and the Sarlacc pit, I honestly feel like they could have made at least half an episode with him just getting out of the Sarlacc pit. I mean, this is a pretty big event, man. Like, as far as we're concerned, he was in there for nearly 40 years. Like, obviously in real world time, not in Star Wars time.
They don't give any indication of how long he's been in there, do they?
No, I mean, we're left to believe it may have been like a few hours or something, because
But if it was a few hours, how didn't he suffocate?
I guess it must have been less than that, yeah.
It must have been literally like, I don't know how long it takes for someone to suffocate, that's not a fact I know. But I presume it must have been at least under an hour.
I mean, it must have been long enough for all the flames to go out on Jabba's sail barge after it blew up, because once he gets out of there, it's like... There's not even any smoke, it's just wreck, you know?
Yeah, so it must have been hours then, in which case... Because Fennec says later on, like, about the acid, but no one mentions about suffocation. And I feel like if you're in such a confined, closed space, like essentially a stomach, you're going to suffocate pretty quickly because there's no air coming in. And he even finds that stormtrooper, pulls out his tube and then takes his air in. So it's like, how did he not just suffocate?
I do feel like time passing is something that's isn't done very well in the show at all. But I think there is definitely more cases of that to come. But anyway, so he gets out by punching it and then using the flamethrower, and then he kind of he crawls out of it. Which the practicality of it is pretty ludicrous. I will admit that. But I do like the shot of him coming out and just sort of like, you know, kneeling there, almost like as if he's like a zombie or something. I mean, I think in terms of imagery, that's pretty cool. I did really like that. But in terms of practicality, there's no way it would have been 100 times harder for that to happen, you know.
Yeah.
And again, I feel like you could have literally based like half an episode of him getting out of this, him finding his way out of this pit. You know, I mean, there's so many fans for such a long time thought that was how Boba Fett died, you know, and then it's just like he just sort of gets out in 2 seconds and he's a bit sandy and he's a bit worse for wears, but you know, he's just gonna have a little nap now, I suppose, you know.
Yeah. This is the bit that I had the least amount of issues with. I'm just sort of like, yeah, whatever. It's a bit unbelievable, but it's fine.
Yeah, no, of course, yeah, no, yeah, and again, I think there is some cool imagery and there is some cool shots with him crawling out and everything. But yeah, either way, yeah, sequence not so bad, but you know, they may have benefited from putting a bit more care and focus into it. especially to the fans who have wanted to see this happen for so long.
I think that statement you can apply to the entire show.
Yeah. But then even so, like I feel like they may have put too much emphasis on some things and less on the other. But anyway,
Yeah. But then the Jawas come along, don't they, and steal his armor.
yeah. So obviously, nightfall comes. The Jawas find him all passed out, and they steal his armor, which obviously we know happened because that's where Bob Vanth got the armor in The Mandalorian, if you remember.
But also, Boba wakes up during this and fights back at them. So
And then gets knocked out.
Boba also knows that this happens.
Yes.
He knows from the start that the Jawas took his armor, which is a important plot hole later on.
Yes, indeed it is. So obviously they're the first people to come across him, steal his armor, and then just leave. And to be honest, like I'm surprised that these Jawas didn't like go to the wreckage of Jabba's sail barge. There must be so much like valuable stuff in there. You know,
Well,
I mean, this
they
is
might have done.
Jabba the Hutt. Like it's
Yeah, they might have done. Like, to be fair to them, they don't need to show us the Jawas stealing everything because we would just presume they'd steal everything around, and it's Boba's show, so I think it's fine that they only show what they steal from Boba.
yeah.
My issues with this bit is only later on when he has amnesia about the entire event for no reason.
Yeah, no, of course. So obviously, as you pointed out, the Tusken Raiders are the next people, well, the next,
They
beings
kidnap him.
to find him, and yeah, what was it? They squirt this little, it looks like carrot juice or something into his mouth to sort of wake him up, and then they drag him through the desert. So by the way, Matt, if you ever find me passed out in the desert, dehydrated to all hell, just make sure you bring like a carrot or something and squeeze some juice into my mouth. Though don't bring water or anything. Just
Yeah, and then
do that to wake me up.
I'll then tie you to a horse and drag you through the desert until you pass out again. Because that's what family do.
That is what family does, yeah. And
No, they literally kidnap and enslave him at this point. Like, it's very explicit that they are enslaving this man.
exactly, yeah. Even with the imagery, like something I noticed on my rewatch actually is when all of this is happening in the flashback, you kind of get frames, you kind of get flashes to Boba in the Bacta tank, obviously dreaming this, reacting quite harshly to it, almost like him being captured by the Tusken Raiders. It was actually a traumatizing event, Like,
yeah, I imagine it would be.
it'd be like him getting hit and then like him flinching in the Bacta tank and stuff. So, that's something very interesting, which I realized in my rewatch, which obviously does take away from some of the other things they were going for. But yeah, anyway,
Yeah,
so
there were lots of things that if they wanted to immediately endear us to the Sand People, but still keep it as a "we're not sure about you" thing, all they had to do was have him not be beaten by them and not be dragged through the desert until he passes out by them, and that's already a bit better for what they were going for.
yeah, exactly. I mean, that's the thing. Like, just very minimal effort could have changed so many factors. I think. Anyway, I think after that, the Sand People have him all tied up next to a Rodian.
Is that the little alien
Yes.
thing?
Yeah, the little red alien thing.
Yeah.
But before that, they again, like they're beating up on him, and again this is obviously traumatizing Boba in the present because he's tied up next to the Rodian, and he thinks he can find a way out, and he says to the Rodian, "Oh yeah, I'll cut your bonds." And then it seems like this Rodian is about 5 steps ahead of Boba in terms of this process because he's already got Stockholm syndrome, and he's like, "Hey, he's trying to get away," and he's like, "Oh, for God's sake!" But like, I feel like this is at this point, especially, like Boba just would have killed that motherfucker. Do you know what I mean? He just would have killed the Rodian and just gone, just left.
Yeah.
But
Like,
no, yeah,
Boba is still basically in what we know to be his character at the moment, bar some of the viciousness. I can believe that he would be captured, beaten up, try to escape, and all of that. All of that is like in line with what I think Boba Fett would do.
So yeah, I mean, I totally agree. I think at this point there's no there's nothing portraying of the character just yet. Yeah, either way, he books it, he runs away, but then obviously the female, I think like the female Tusken Raider, who's like one of the higher ups in the tribe, not the chieftain, because I think that's another person, but like just just quite a high up member of the tribe, challenges him to a one-on-one, and then he gets his ass handed to him.
Yeah, he gets beaten up again.
Yeah, he gets his ass handed to him by the Tusken Raider, and then that's when the flashback ends. So that's when Fennec wakes him up and says, time to go. We have people coming to pay tribute.
Yeah, so
then,
staying with the
yeah.
flashback at the moment, what I would believe now is that he would 100% try to escape and or murder these people for what they're doing to him.
Yeah, totally.
In a heartbeat, he would just be like, fuck you guys, and gun them down and run off and steal their wares and try to get back to his old life.
Yeah, so yeah, obviously, yeah, to summarize like the flashbacks we've seen so far, like, obviously I know the Boba Fett's main employer was Jabba the Hutt, but I refuse to believe there wasn't other ties that he had around the galaxy that he could probably get in touch with. I mean, this guy was pretty networked from what I understand. Like,
yeah, totally. Like he would be of excellent use to. Well, I guess it'd be the First Order in this part, wouldn't it? He'd be of excellent use to them with all the information he would have.
No, it's not quite the First Order because I think it's just Imperial remnants. Because if you remember in The Mandalorian, they were all still like stormtroopers, weren't they? So
it's the Imperial, the bad guy that still exists because we need a bad guy. He would he'd be a good he'd remain a good fit for them with the information they have.
Yes,
but this is also reaffirming to us that the Tusken Raiders are just savages, essentially. They're a horrible tribe of people that just beat up and murder anyone that they can.
Essentially, but no. So we're now that we're in the so we do have another flashback in this episode. So we'll definitely get back to that. So obviously, we're brought back to the present day, and obviously Fennec informs Boba that there is tribute that the people of Mos Espa want to obviously pay tribute to Boba Fett.
Yeah,
and
I don't get why they would. I don't know why they would. Why him just going, I'm in charge now. Why would anybody accept that?
It's I think that it's normally like a sign of it's a sign of respect to the new daimyo.
But why has anybody accepted him as that? Because there's two of them, and he's just walked in, shot someone, and said, "I'm in charge now," and they give no reason why anybody's accepting of this.
Yeah, no, they don't really until they don't. I mean, to be fair, I think you do raise a good point, but I think like after this little tribute scene, nobody does anything but disrespect Boba Fett, really. So we just saw this little scene in the beginning,
really,
where like where he's demanding tribute and everything. But anyway, so we get a few people. We get a Trandoshan, voiced by Robert Rodriguez, who presents him like this Wookiee hide or something.
Here's some fur.
Yeah, and somewhere in the scene as well, I specifically remember Boba Fett turning to Fennec, because there was a language that he didn't know, and he said, "Oh yeah, I think we're gonna need a protocol droid," and I remember that for a reason. It seems like the droid played by Matt Berry, who was just the white droid. He seems to be able to translate languages quite easily. But anyway. Just thought that was worth pointing out.
So why does he say we need a protocol droid if they have one?
Because the writer's fucked up.
Wait, is it literally they go, we need a protocol droid, and Matt Berry droid is just like, I'm literally translating for you right now.
Well, no, he doesn't in that scene, but later on he translates for the dinner scene that they have, and he's
in the scene where they say we need a protocol droid.
Yeah.
Okay, you've got one.
Yeah,
he's right there. He was in the IT crowd. He's great.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, that might not be his primary use, but he clearly does have some programming which has him have an understanding of other languages.
So why is he
Anyway,
not translating here? If he does, he just not know this language? Does he only know limited languages?
perhaps, or maybe Boba Fett just isn't paying him, or John Favreau forgot.
I'm gonna
So-
given the way they treat most of this show, I'm gonna believe that they forgot.
Yeah, I'm happy just thinking they forgot as well. So what else happens here? Oh yeah, so we get our first new character, the Twi'lek.
Yeah, the guy with when you look at his head from behind, it looks like a butt bent over.
Yeah, because Star Wars is for kids, everyone.
but I have issues with this character. It's the same issues I have with the biker gang later on. Is the way he acts in this feels incongruent to the aesthetic and feel that Star Wars is and has established. He almost feels like a Marvel character has stepped into this universe, if you know what I mean, with the way
Almost.
the way he's sort of lightheartedly punny and jabby, and he just has a way of speaking that has.
He's got an odd quirk to him, isn't he?
Yeah, like Star Wars. Star Wars to me is the sort of the faux poetic sort of speech. It's not the I'm a crime lord sort of speech, you know.
Yeah, no. So this character's name is Mok Shaiz.
Mok Shaiz.
Yeah.
He makes a mockery of the show.
Yes. Is Shaiz a translation for show anywhere in any language? I don't know. Yeah, I think as you said, yeah. So Mok Shaiz says that the mayor is not going to pay any tribute.
Which he shouldn't. He has no reason to, may I add. The mayor has absolutely no reason to pay this random person tribute.
Yeah, but obviously, then he asks Boba Fett for tribute for the mayor. Then obviously, as you pointed out, Boba Fett says, but I'm the crime lord, he should pay me.
The matter of tribute.
I'm confused.
He wants you to pay him.
What? I'm the crime lord. He's supposed to pay me.
Yeah, which is another. That was the first sign to me that they've broken Boba's character. Like Boba Fett wouldn't go, "I'm a crime lord, pay me." He would just be like, "Okay, shoot that guy and go sort it out." Like, he wouldn't whine about someone not respecting him.
Yeah, and then especially when even Fennec is offering to to snuff him.
Yeah,
and
Fennec
he's
is the
like,
most
"Oh
consistent thing in this scene.
no." He's like, "Oh no, but he works for the mayor, so we can't. We can't."
Why
That's
can't
a
you?
no.
Why can't he?
Oh, because it would be bad. Oh, I
But
don't
he's a
bloody know.
villain. He does bad things.
You would think that's what a villain would mean, but no, apparently not. So obviously he leaves all ominously, saying, "Oh yes, heartfelt welcome and enjoy your stay," or whatever. You know, just some weird like double meaning phrase, which you don't quite know how to take. After that, we then get to Boba Fett and Fennec Shand being presented these two Gamorrean guards.
Oh, yeah.
And so it said, "Oh yeah, they were loyal to their master until the end."
And aren't they still loyal, and that's why they're there, because they refuse to run away?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
And they're
then,
also happy to die.
yeah, but then Boba Fett was like, "If I spare you, will you be loyal to me?" And I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, so they're not that loyal then, are they?
It's like we don't have any other purpose now, so we might as well,
But they haven't had that other purpose for a while. Like, if they were loyal, because doesn't he say they were loyal to Jabba?
Yeah.
But Jabba's been dead for 10 years or something.
7 to
7
10
years,
years.
7 to.
Yeah.
So if they've been loyal to Jabba for 7 to 10 years. Boba says, "You want to be loyal to me?" And they go, "Okay." Like, surely they would just happily die. They've been happy to die for the last 7 years. Why wouldn't they be happy to die now?
I don't know. Maybe they just woke up one day and they just thought, you know what? We haven't really done anything for a little while. I'm feeling kind of useless and bored. Maybe we should. Yeah, go on. We should do something, right?
Yeah,
Um,
and it's the first time that Boba just asks random people to work for him for no reason.
Yeah, no, I love that about Boba Fett for a very specific reason, which you know about. After that, they take a trip into Mos Espa. They take a trip into town, and they go and pay a visit to the Sanctuary, which is obviously a place of hospitality. It's almost like a venue, like a live venue, bar establishment.
This is the place with the lady and
Yes,
well, they offer helmet cleaning or something, don't they?
yeah. So he goes over to the state to just greet the business and say that their business will continue to thrive under his watchful eye, and I pretty much just said that word for word there.
Yes, and then they put some money into his helmet, if I remember correctly.
Yes, no, they do, and but before they get there, I think Fennec says, "Oh yeah, you should have."
Wait, isn't this is the first instance of doesn't he walk there with his helmet off and she's like, "Why have you got your helmet off?"
It's the instance where she says, "Oh yeah, you should have been carried here on a I can't remember what they're called. You know the things that they
Yeah, whatever they carry the huts on. A table, we'll call it a table.
able.
Because he is the table.
He is the table. I am the table. So yeah, he basically just comes in to express his goodwill, and then they leave again with. And I believe they did get tributes within their helmets. They got some copper.
Yeah.
Um,
They got
in
a
their
bunch of
helmets.
money. Which is fine. He's showing up, he's being all like, I'm in charge now, give me money, and they go, sure. That's again, it's kind
But
of
that-
like, why would they though? They don't know who this man is. They still haven't given us any reason as to why these people would automatically accept him.
Like the only reason I can really think of is it's purely just tradition, I guess. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, maybe.
But yeah, either way, they're leaving. And I remember in this shot, you got the two Gamorrean guards just behind them. Yeah, and then the shot changes, and then they're gone. I mean, we know
Because
why
it
they're
would-
gone.
Yeah, because it'd have been fucking annoying for the fight scene that's about to come.
Yeah. So they have a conversation about Boba ruling with respect, even though Jabba ruled with fear.
I don't know why he would rule with respect though.
And then Fennec just says, "Oh well, in trying times, fear is a surer bet." So basically saying, "Fear is easier. Why aren't you doing that?" Like,
Yeah, why isn't he doing that? I agree.
well,
Fennec.
we don't have time to explore that because then assassins come out of nowhere
Yes.
with-
this is where I
with
burst out
jabby
laughing.
electric prods and these shields.
They get the shields around him,
Yes, they do. So
and then Boba fires a rocket.
Yeah, all-powerful bounty hunter, which probably has had to make his way around
Yeah.
ray shields more time than I can count.
The bounty
Um,
hunter with a jetpack
Yeah,
that can just fly up,
he
shoots a
fires
rocket
into a shield, which
at
you know
point
will
blank
not,
range.
which knocks them both off their feet, Boba and
Yeah.
Fennec, and sends their helmets flying. And then, so yeah, at this point, look, everybody has spoken about the fact that Boba Fett should have just flown out of there and then maybe fired a rocket on the ground, which is totally what should have happened. But
Instead he's an idiot. It's
yeah, I know. That's the thing. I can tell that Robert Rodriguez and John Favreau wanted this to be a very sort of boots on the ground, nothing too flashy, just hand-to-hand combat sequence, which would be absolutely fine.
yeah.
But if they were going to do that, then don't give him his jetpack.
Yeah.
At this point, he's not carrying his blaster. He's clearly not expecting an attack from anyone. So just have him leave it at the palace. If he's all like, "Oh yeah, I'm going to walk on my own 2 feet and I'm not going to be carried," then there's no harm in making him leave his jetpack. It's not like he's going to fly either way.
Yeah, it's not like a bunch of people with shields are going to show up and you have to fly off.
Oh yeah, exactly. I mean, he clearly wasn't expecting that. So, again, I feel like this is another prime example of if someone just tapped John Favreau, Robert Rodriguez, whoever, just on the shoulder and said, "Hey, look, this doesn't really make sense. You could just change this one little bit, like, cheers, thanks,
Yeah,
man.
But also,
it probably would have
say,
been fine. Like,
say he doesn't have his jetpack. Why does he just shoot a rocket? Why not, like, he's got a flamethrower. Why doesn't he, like, bend over and flamethrower underneath the shields? Why doesn't he...
then just, like, toast their balls, basically.
Yeah, like, set them on fire. Like, there's so many things that he could have done that... He picked the stupidest thing he could have done in that situation. And it's like, he's meant to be this insane... He's the bounty hunter that Darth Vader gives a call when he needs something sorting out. And the first thing he does when presented with an issue is pick the stupidest option he can.
It's almost like, it almost sort of seems to me like he sort of lost his nerve, kind of thing. You know, when you sort of panic and you just do the first thing that comes into your head, and then it always ends up being the dumbest thing. Like,
yeah,
it kind of seems like that. But then again, like, if he's meant to be this disciplined bounty hunter, then that should have been, you know, he should be known for keeping his cool in basically all situations. But in this case, he just
and also
he just fired a rocket and then fell on his ass. You know?
Yeah. And if he wants to rule with respect, why is he setting off rockets in the middle of town?
Because he got scared. Anyway,
like imagine if your mayor showed up, someone attacked him, and the first thing he did was shoot him in the head. You'd be like, I don't want that guy to be my mayor or to be my daimyo or whatever. You'd be fucking terrified.
Yeah, no, it would be horrific.
It's like a moment in D&D where, like, you get presented with a situation and the DM goes, what do you do? And then just someone goes, I fire a rocket. And the DM goes, are you sure you want to do that? And you go,
like,
oh,
yes.
actually, yeah, maybe not.
Yeah, this is. Or you go, yeah, maybe not if you actually come to your senses. Okay, I'll be positive for a few seconds about this fight. So there is one thing I do like, and that's how I like how the dynamic of the fight changes quite frequently in terms of, like, who has the upper hand and who is getting completely beaten. Like, 1 minute the assassins are beating the crap out of Fennec and Boba. Next minute, then they kind of get up and then they start, like, you know, they start getting them back a little bit. I mean, again, it's like imagine if you're playing as Boba and Fennec in D&D, you roll like 2 nat 1s, and then like after that, then you're like, oh great, okay, we're rolling like a 15, yeah, that's better. And then like the part where he like chucks the guy on the floor and then hits him with the staff, it's like, okay, yeah, there you go, that's a crit. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, so that part I did kind of like, because I feel like it did retain some kind of tension in a fight which was otherwise really poorly constructed. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I mean, but then eventually, the Gamorrean guards come in and then they step in because obviously they had to be absent for when these assassins first came in, and obviously Robert Rodriguez, in his infinite wisdom, just thought he'd just take them out of the shot.
Yeah, and then just have them randomly show up.
So yeah, the Gamorrean guards come in and they give them a fighting chance. But at this point, Boba Fett can't take it anymore. He cannot take it. He's been poked by these tickle sticks too many times. He's on the floor. He's done. And this is when we see him fire his second rocket out of 4 in this show, and he does it to completely explode a guy, like,
and
to the
also
point where
destroy some property of the place he's meant to be protecting.
Oh yeah. I mean, that was a pretty bad scorch mark he left on that building.
Yeah.
And then obviously Fennec Shand gives chase, and he says to keep one of them alive. Oh, he doesn't say keep one of them alive. He just says Fennec alive, and Fennec does some parkour on the top of the.
It looks awful as well. I just want to point out that the chasing on the rooftops looks terrible.
I tell you what, it kind of looked like. It sort of looked like the rooftops were on the the soundstage thing that they film these shows on. So all we really got was like a couple of sets.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean, there was like a few sets, and it was like, right, okay, there you go. And then maybe like one shot facing the floor, like to show you what the height is, to give you some kind of danger. But yeah, overall it wasn't too much to write home about. I mean, it's definitely not the parkour sequence from Casino Royale, for example. Definitely not one of those. But yeah, so she eventually catches up to them, kills one, I guess. She like kicks him off the roof, and then
so I guess he's dead.
And
Maybe.
then, oh no, but if a character falls off something in Star Wars, that never means he's dead, right? No, that one assassin guy, he's getting his own series.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
we'll get a series seeing what happened in the day where he fell off.
Yeah,
We'll
literally,
have
and
to
there'll be
we
7
need to fill
episodes
that
of
gap
like,
in.
yeah, but then like half the show is just like him getting flashbacks of being a baby assassin and
Yeah.
everything,
Fair.
with not much actually going on in the present. Yeah, so after all this, Boba Fett's getting dragged back to the Bacta tank. He's really beat up by these guys. He's done. He's done. He's KO for the day.
He's
Uh,
done.
So he gets back in the Bacta tank, and you know what? What it's time for now, boys and girls? More flashbacks. Yay!
Oh,
So
I just want to say
Um,
that I really, really hate the flashbacks. Like,
yeah, I feel like I didn't mind the concept of there being flashbacks, but I think they took way too much time.
I think if you calculate the time, I think the majority of Boba time is flashback.
Yeah, exactly. Which I didn't really want to see that much of. I mean, I don't mind there being flashbacks to just establish basic points of which things happen. In the show, like show him come out the Sarlacc, or maybe show him like maybe one scene of him meeting Fennec Shand, or something like that. But they actually take up entire episodes. And this one, this season premiere. Because I remember when I first watched this, I thought, I mean, I didn't mind it. I thought the episode was all right, but I just thought that there wasn't enough established of what was going on in the present, and all I really found out was things I probably could have pieced together in my head anyway. But anyway, I digress. So we go back to the flashbacks, and we're continuing the time with Boba in the with the Tuscans. So we have a brief scene where one of the Tuscan Raiders takes him and the Rhodian prisoner over to dig for water. I guess it was like digging
Yeah,
for these
so-
little shells, which I've never seen before.
Yeah, more instances of enslavement. They are. He is a slave to these people to collect water for them.
He literally is, yeah. And I think one other thing that happened here, which is noteworthy, is this is the first sighting that we get of the Nikto speed gang, speed biker gang. We see them like raid this cottage, this house, and we see them like put the symbol on the wall. So like that's our first introduction to them. But yeah, either way, they're looking for this water. Which again, I don't even know what those are supposed to be. Like, are these just sort of like hidden hydration
Yeah, I guess they're just.
packages? Like, I don't get it really. Like,
Yeah, I guess they need a way of people drinking water in the desert, so they just have like random shells with water in for some reason, because
buried under the
everyone would
sand.
ask where the water comes from.
Yeah. So, okay, all right. So I mean, this is happening. I guess at this point we might as well just accept it. This is happening. So after some considerable amount of digging, they come across what can only be described as a four-armed Goro monster from Mortal
No,
Kombat.
that's not what it is. It's literally Machamp from Pokemon.
Okay, all right. But one or the other. Take your pick.
Yeah.
Either way, this thing is attacking them. It completely destroys the Rhodian prisoner, which Boba Fett probably should have done earlier in the show, but it completely wrecks him. He's gone. He's out. It's up to Boba Fett and the other Tuscans the other two Tuscans, I believe there's two of them, to take this thing out. Boba Fett, as we know, comes out on top. He ends up like strangling it with his chains, which, yeah, by the way, he's definitely not a slave. But he's all chained up, and yeah. Anyway,
Yeah, he's literally chained up as well.
yeah. So he strangles the thing with the chains, and then after that, he's they're all they all start to respect him a bit more.
But if I remember correctly, he very much has the opportunity here to leave.
Oh yeah, totally.
So why doesn't- So this is the point then where his character is broken beyond just this is where his character snaps, and he is no longer what we thought or what they've established him to be, because Boba Fett, having been beaten down by these people, having been enslaved, having been forced to essentially fight for them while in chains, there is absolutely no chance he would go, You know what? I'll join you. He would leave in that moment.
Oh yeah, he totally would. Yeah, I do agree here. But
And
like,
given what we see him do later to the biker gang, I suspect he would leave, get his ship, and come shoot all of them.
yeah, obviously, like at this point in the show, there is basically no warmth between the two parties. Like at this point, he's been enslaved. He's had to kind of do what he can to get by, and then now they start to respect him because he killed the monster. And I think that the final shot of the show, the episode, is one of the Tuscans. I think it's the chieftain gives him some water to drink out of, and then it ends. Boom. And then we see Robert Rodriguez's name for the first time, but not the last. So okay. So
Boba Fett would not have stayed.
I don't believe he would either. I don't know why he did, especially at this point, since he has such a clear opportunity to just get the hell out of there.
Yeah, and they've given us nothing to indicate he has any sort of attachment to these people.
Especially at the moment, anyway. Like I think, this was the turning point, which probably, it probably should have gone the other way.
Yeah, and they give us no reason to even like these people.
No,
like
no, they don't. So okay, so overall, what do you think of this season premiere? Episode 1.
Until the ending where until the ending where we see that Disney have made the bad guy just another good guy. I think it's just fine. It's not.
Yeah,
it's not that.
I'd agree.
offensive.
I would say it's okay. I would say it's an okay first episode. I don't really think it really fulfilled its function.
I don't think it really did anything.
Well, exactly, because normally, like the premiere of a show normally has to hook people in. I don't think this did really enough to hook people in. Even people like me that eats stuff like this up just all the time, like new Star Wars content. Like even I was sort of feeling like, okay, so what am I getting into here? But yeah, no. Either way, I'd say the episode was fine. I thought it was okay.
What would you rate it out of 10?
Out of 10, I would probably give it a strong 5 to a low 6, probably.
Oh wow, I'd go with a 3.
3.
Yeah.
3.
Well,
So it was fine. You gave it a 3. I thought like under 5. I thought like under 5 was terrible. No, like under 5 was bad. 5 is okay, and then 6 and above was good.
Five is average. 5 is there's equal good to equal bad, essentially.
Yeah.
And then the lower you go, there's more bad to good. So I'd say
Okay.
it's a 3.
Fair enough. I'll stick with a strong 5 on this one. I feel
Strong
comfortable
5.
with that. Yeah.
Meaty
Okay,
5.
cool. Meaty 5, yeah. Okay, so episode 2, The Tribes of Tatooine, directed by Steph Green.
That's already an improvement.
Yeah. It was really odd, though, because when I first saw that name pop up, I thought it said Seth Green, who was somebody completely different. I thought that would have been really interesting, because he directed a lot of the Robot Chicken stuff, and he's very well known for being a really big Star Wars fan. So that would have been fun. But no, we got Steph Green, who I think overall does actually does a pretty good job on the direction side of this episode. But either way, yeah, it starts off with Fennec taking the assassin back to I guess Boba's palace, as it be now known, and we have this little interrogation scene. The assassin is obviously on his knees, and he has the 2 Gamorrean guards behind him. Just sort of
They're back in shot.
Yep. Oh yeah, they're back in the shot. Yep. No, they're back to stay. Basically, it's a whole "who hired you" situation.
And who hired you?
It's just a job.
And the obviously Matt Berry as the droid, who's basically with Fennec, a bit of a exposition tool. Is basically explains that they are from the Order of the Night Wind, who, to my knowledge, has never been part of the canon before this. So I think
it's an original
new.
creation.
Yeah, so they're an order who's completely new. But obviously, they had to have been hired by someone. obviously Fennec says that they're not that much of a big deal. You're basically paying for the name, which from what we've seen seems to be accurate. But they also make a pretty bold effort to express that these guys cannot be broken. They don't fear death. They don't fear anything. So to test that, the Gamorrean guard comes up behind him and threatens to decapitate him, and he still doesn't flinch. He's like, nope.
Yeah, no.
You can take my head, but you can never take my soul. I don't know.
Hail Hydra.
Yeah, basically, yeah. But then Fennec has another idea up her sleeve. It's like, well, if you don't fear brutal decapitation, then you might fear the Rancor. And obviously, he then gets sent down to the Rancor pit, as we saw with Luke in Return of the Jedi. And the door starts to open. Now, at this point, kind of as an audience member, we know that the Rancor that Jabba had is dead, is no longer there. But then we're thinking, maybe they have something else down there now. Who knows? So I guess maybe there's slight suspense for the audience. Maybe, like, for people who might be wondering if there is another Rancor down there. But no, there isn't for now. And there's a fairly comedic part where Fennec says,
It's empty.
and then the guy, after the guy completely spills the beans.
Yeah, he immediately gives it up.
Yeah, he immediately just spills his purse all over the table and says that the mayor sent him.
Doesn't even wait for the to see anything come out. Doesn't wait for any indication that there's anything there.
Yeah, he's just like, nope, nope, not this.
Yeah.
The mayor sent me, and then obviously, then Fennec says it's empty, and we see like a little mouse in there or something. Which, I mean that stuff's fine. I mean, like little comedic things like that are okay. Obviously, this Nightwind guy's a dumbass, and he completely doesn't stick to his code. But
what I would describe as not fine is setting up a legendary assassin who doesn't fear death, won't give up anything, just to then immediately have him give up everything.
Yeah, I mean, again, there is definitely a heavy drawback associated with this, but still, I mean, I guess little moments like that kind of give the show some levity, I suppose.
It ruins so much potential. It ruins all of the stakes. It ruins all of the potential that could have come from having You could have had a whole mystery about who is hiring these people to hunt Boba. Is it a potential blue guy in a cowboy hat later on? Like, you could have had so much cool things coming from this just for the sake of a shitty joke that wasn't funny and destroys anything that could have been good.
Yeah, no, I suppose so. But I guess for what they were going for, I mean, it didn't anger me. I mean, at this point, with how kind of dead slow the pace has been, and for there to be some development of like who hired this guy, like I guess it's okay for now. But
like he said, he was happy to be decapitated. What's the difference between being decapitated and having your head bitten off?
One hurts more.
Does it?
I don't know.
Like I don't think there.
One is more sudden than the other. I mean, it depends how good the Gamorrean Guard's swing is, I guess. I mean,
so a decapitation might have actually been worse, and he was happy to go through that.
Yeah, if it's something like Theon Greyjoy from Game of Thrones decapitating you, then it definitely would have been very slow and painful. But okay,
No, I hated that personally. I thought that was awful.
I didn't hate it. It just, a bit. I do agree. It could have been taken more seriously, I suppose. But yeah, so anyway, so after finding out this that the mayor hired the Nightwind, which more I think about it, kind of sounds like what I probably do at like 5 a.m. when I've had a bit too much beer the night before, and I'm turned over on one side. Then there's a bit of wind that seeps out. I basically fart in my sleep, and then so that's that's my idea of Nightwind anyway.
That'd be more effective at knocking people out than these guys were.
Too true, yeah. But anyway, so after hearing this news, Boba and Fennec decide to go and pay the mayor a visit.
this is the sort of moment where I would expect them. Oh, we found out who's coming to kill us. Let's barge into their office and demand their heads. Let's not wait around. Let's get this sorted.
Yeah, when in reality it was just they just sort of walked over and was like, "Hey, can we see the mayor?" No, okay, please. Yeah, all right then. So they get them to meet the mayor, who is a Ithorian, from what I can see. It's an Ithorian using like a neck brace, which is like a translator, because like Ithorians don't really speak proper words. They almost speak in like these very low sort of these very low kind of sounds, almost like a whale, almost like a almost like whale sounds. Anyway, he has this brace on so that we can hear English, so we know what's actually going on. And I believe the mayor is actually voiced by Robert Rodriguez as well. I might be mistaken.
Can he just?
Yeah,
stop?
I'm pretty sure he is. Yeah.
Can he just stop putting himself into this? Can he just leave Star Wars?
Can you just get out of here? Leave.
I've had enough of him.
But yeah, either way, so we got Robert Rodriguez as the mayor, and they basically have Boba Fett basically says, "Look, we know that you hired the assassin," and at that point, just like with just a gesture, one of the mayor's guards shoots the assassin.
Yeah, which is also annoying.
There's a very, very brief standoff. Very brief. It's probably the most tense things I've gotten, even though it's like a standoff that like lasted like 2 seconds. And I believe the mayor said the Order the Nightwing aren't allowed to operate outside of hut space, so that's why he killed him. But they could have just had a reveal right there and then that the mayor is behind all this, but no, they had to drag it out even further and be like, "Oh yeah, well, is it the mayor or isn't it the mayor, or is it this or that?" You know.
But why have this assassin be saved just to shoot him 2 seconds later? Like,
I don't know. It was done.
Like, what is the point in any of this?
Okay, so yeah, after that, he then just gives him. So the mayor gives Boba Fett some advice. That running a family is nothing like being a bounty hunter, and he said that was his tribute to Boba Fett, which Boba still claims he should have gotten at the beginning of the show.
I've got another question. Why didn't Boba just shoot the mayor? There and then.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're right. If you wanted to establish dominance and be like, "This is my city," then you should have
It's literally, you tried to have me killed, just shoot him there and then.
Yeah, just shoot him in the face like he did to Bib Fortuna.
Yeah, why doesn't he's already proven in this series that he's happy to do that, but he won't do that here.
Yeah, no, it's dumb. Okay, it's dumb.
Yeah, there's an aversion to using guns in this show in general.
Yeah, that's probably why. Yeah, no, he's
sorry, blasters. They're probably not called guns, are they?
Yeah, they're called blasters, but yeah, no. Either way, they leave with they're a bit bitter towards each other, understandably so. They have a bit of a squabble, and then they leave. But one thing that the mayor tells him before he leaves is like, "Oh yes, you could probably find out more information at the sanctuary." So Boba's like, "What?" So, and again, it is pointlessly building up this suspense of who's doing what, which they could have just dedicated to establishing like a proper villain, but we'll get to that. So he storms over to the sanctuary and says, "Hey, look, well, I've been talking to the mayor, and he says that, there's something I should know." And then the woman who runs the sanctuary,
the lady with the head,
Garsa Fwip, that was it. So he goes to see Garsa Fwip.
I prefer lady with the head.
Lady with the head.
Yeah, that's
the Twi'lek.
The lady with the head.
Right, lady with the head. Right. Well, I'm going to call it Garsa Fwip for the purpose of this. So yeah, you go see Garsa Fwip, and then she basically says that, "Oh, didn't you hear that the twins are coming?" And then right at that moment, you start to hear drums, and And then we quite possibly get the arrival of one of the most disgusting things I've ever seen in my life. And that is
Wait, what? Why
Jabba's
is it
cousins.
disgusting?
They were just gross. Oh, they were
Are
just.
they?
Yeah, they're meant to be like brother and sister, and they were way too close to each other. They were like on top of each other, basically. They were. No.
Oh wow, that's the one of the. I'm surprised that's an issue for you.
Yes. What are you trying to say?
Well, just like they look fine. They're just coming in on their table,
The table.
and
I mean, to be fair, like they do look good, but obviously the intention is for them to look fucking gross because huts are absolutely disgusting. So, yeah, there is that.
that's very hot-phobic of you.
Oh yeah, no, is this gonna hold up? Am I gonna get cancelled?
It's gonna age badly with those comments.
Yeah.
What about when they? What about when they make the Hutts the good guys? We'll get a show about the Hutts, and all of a sudden it'll be all about family.
Yes, because nothing's more.
It'll be like
important than family.
Fast and the Furious, but with the Hutts.
Yeah. But either way, they come along and they say to Boba that the territory of Mos Espa is they have a right to it. It was promised to them.
Yes.
And then they start to flex their arms a little bit, and they bring in the bounty hunter, the gladiator, in Black Chrysanthemum, who was the Wookiee. And personally, I actually really liked his introduction with Black Chrysanthemum. Like, he looks badass. He looks like he could do some damage. You know, from this introduction, he looks like he could do some damage, and he looked like a pretty promising adversary for Boba Fett to maybe take down later down the line. Either way, yeah, Boba just tells them to go fuck themselves, basically, and says, I'm the daimyo. You'll have to kill me for it. And then with that, they all leave.
So the one thing I like here is that finally someone's come along and been like, no, you're not just going to randomly show up and claim that you're in charge. Like, it's finally someone being like, yeah, you can't kill one person, say you're in charge, and then we'll all follow you. This is our space. We own this space because of the person who used to be in charge here. I'm surprised there aren't more people coming in and doing this.
Yeah, no, exactly. And actually, actually making a statement, like,
yeah,
it almost seems like a lot of the protests to Boba from the people who aren't in favor of this have just been kind of like sort of mopey protests, like, oh yeah, we don't respect you, but whatever.
And also, why doesn't he just shoot the Black Wookiee here and now? Again, why doesn't he just shoot him?
I mean, I don't know. The stakes are a bit higher here. I mean, to take on the Wookiee right there and then. I mean, the Wookiee is armed. It probably would have turned into a fight, and Boba Fett probably has to play his cards a little bit better here. So I don't mind that so much. I think that kind of more applies to the mayor scenario, because the mayor doesn't look like he could do shit against Boba, and he's just sitting right there. But like, Black Chrysanthemum probably would have been a bit more difficult.
Well, he could just shoot the two Hutts that have shown up. They're completely defenseless.
Yeah, but then if he shot them, then Chrysanthemum would have been there, and
he would have been surrounded by the entire town that Boba owns.
Yeah, but whether they do anything or not, who knows? But anyway, yeah, that's that. I guess that's fairly minor, because there's been a lot of scenarios in shows and movies where like the good guy and the bad guy have been facing off, like have just been standing in the room together and nobody makes a move. That's just sort of movie stuff, That's just sort of TV stuff.
It being movie stuff doesn't mean it makes sense.
Yeah, true, but obviously we got a show to do this, so
again, that doesn't mean it makes sense.
Okay, all right, yeah, I guess not.
They're Hutts. We would have to get permission if you want to kill them.
But we then just get a transition to him back in the bacta tank, obviously.
Great! It's the fucking train.
One more. There's always a goddamn train.
Yeah. Oh yes. Yeah. So we get more flashbacks. So I believe it opens with them just having some sparring, some training lessons now that Boba involved with this.
Yeah, no indication still of how much time has passed.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. No.
It still
absolutely
feels
not.
like it might have been a week or two.
Yeah. 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 No. Yeah. No. Exactly. So yeah, literally, they're just sparring for a little bit, and then eventually we get the we get the train passing through.
Why does the
Now-
train shoot at them?
I mean, they claim that it's because they needed to defend themselves from the Tuscans, but to
Okay,
my
so
knowledge,
have-
the Tuscans never made the first move. So,
So
yeah,
have the Tuscans ever shot at the train?
not that's ever shown or explained. So they're
Okay, so
basically
we can assume that the Tuscans have never shot the train, so therefore it makes no sense as to why the train is shooting the Tuscans.
basically, yeah,
And okay, I'm gonna before we go into the entire train discussion, I'm gonna set this up. So, Tuscans are a nomadic people, I think. Is that correct?
I would say so. Yeah,
They're like they're like travelers. They travel around the desert. They make their camp somewhere new. They then say, I guess the water would dry up there, so they then move again. Like they travel the desert, traveling, and they're nomadic in nature. Yeah. This train is bound by no tracks whatsoever because it's hovering.
yeah. No, it's literally just hovering. Yeah, so it's not
And-
it's not confined to any tracks or anything. It's
Yeah.
basically just a long speeder with cargo
Yeah.
to the best.
And as far as we know, its sole purpose is to transport whatever from A to B.
yeah.
It's not coming along looking to attack random wildlife or random tribes. Its sole purpose is get from A to B. Okay. So with those two things in mind, the events of the episode unfold however they do, we'll go into. But why doesn't either the train just take a new route, because it's a hover train, it can take any route it wants. And why don't the Tuscans just move their camp like they probably would do in a week's time anyway?
Yeah, it does almost seem like there's for this to make sense. Like both parties would just have to be incredibly stubborn. Like we're not going to move our camp. Yeah, well, we're not going to move our train route. So, you know,
But for the Tuscans in
die.
particular, it's literally, we wanted to move next week, but you're making us move now, and we refuse to do that. So instead, we'll blow up the train.
Yes. Yeah, basically. Yeah, pretty much. I mean, especially from what we've been told in the show as well. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, that would be what we would be led to believe.
But also, if the Tuscans are being attacked because they have previously attacked this train, that's now them just being horrible scavengers again, which they can't do obviously because they're trying to build them as these cultured people that are just sort of surviving.
Yeah. No, of course. So next we have Boba going to this outpost, this cantina-like dive, where the Nido speed bikers are.
Isn't there a bit before that where the train attacks them?
Yeah.
So the train attacks them. Why does Boba help the raiders? He has another chance here to run away, and instead he decides to risk his life to defend them.
Yeah, no, it is a good point. I mean, because I guess at this point we're just sort of led to believe that Boba's just staying there out of his free will, which, you know, in the show he totally is. Yeah, I'm not saying it makes sense, but like that is what's happening here. He's basically just staying there of his free will because he wants to.
Yeah, but I don't.
No,
I still don't believe that Boba would want to.
Me neither. It is very, very contrived. But anyway, so we have. So yeah, Boba takes matters into his own hands, and he goes to that outpost, that little bar where the speed bikers are hanging out in. There's an altercation between them and this couple that Boba walks into, and then he basically then just starts beating all of them up.
Yeah, he just shows up
Uh,
and beats up these random people that,
Yeah,
to our knowledge, so like if you think of like a biker gang, yeah, biker gangs can have hundreds of members, right?
yeah,
So we don't even know if these people are necessary. Like some biker gangs do lots of charity work.
yeah,
Like what if this part of the biker gang were the charity part and they were like helping kids get water in Tatooine, and he's just shown up, and because they've got the same logo, he beats them up and steals their bikes.
yeah. I mean, yeah, you're right because even so, like I know in the Star Wars universe, like there is, obviously we would find it hard to distinguish aliens from the same race from the other ones because obviously it's all makeup and prosthetics and everything. I don't know if like characters in universe are able to distinguish aliens from each other like easily. Like I genuinely don't know that. But either way, Boba has a hunch and he beats the living crap out of all these bikers. He even shoots one of them with like a cycler rifle, which is known as like being like a proper sniper rifle, like point blank range.
Yeah, so like
And then
they're
and
almost
then he
showing the
throws
pro-
one through like a sheet of glass, like a window, and then basically has a Han Solo sorry about the mess moment, and then just leaves.
Yeah, so like they're sort of showing this is even more incongruent with what they're trying to do because they're showing the Boba that I would expect, but how he would treat the Tuskens, except he's doing it to these people. So if this Boba is now learning to be a good guy, why is he brutally attacking these people?
Because they're bad.
Yeah,
They're,
like
they're trying to show that they're bad people, so yeah, they deserve to be beaten up.
okay, I'll go attack random bikers in a bar because all are bad because they saw some of the group do a bad thing.
Yeah, and obviously these ones, he does walk in, he sees them like beating up on this couple, which obviously isn't very nice, but but yeah. So
So he gets their bikes.
so yeah, he takes their bikes, he links them all together, and he goes back to the camp, and then he obviously expresses to the chieftain that he's brought a gift, and he says that's how they're going to stop the train.
And they immediately try to dismantle the bikes because they're all fucking idiots.
Yeah, because that's how they deal with contemporary technology. They just strip it apart.
Yeah.
But no, he stops them up, and then after that we get a fairly light-hearted, fairly fun training sequence, and we get
It doesn't work with his character. This isn't.
No,
It may
it
be
doesn't,
lighthearted
but-
and fun, but it does not work with who we know Boba to be. Like, there's the bit where it's been memed now already, and I'm gonna say I want you to show this on screen while I talk about it. It's
Yeah.
the bit where he's like demonstrating how the bike goes and how it moves, and he just sort of starts jiggling on the spot, flailing his wrists.
like a panther.
Yeah,
that-
it's just hilarious.
You see, like, I tell you what, like that moment there to me reminded me heavily of the Zemo dance moment from Falcon and the Winter Soldier. It's almost like
They were trying to get a meme out of it.
yeah, it's literally they're trying to get a meme out of it, and like I might sound naive for asking this, but like I wonder if like films and shows nowadays literally have like a meme department where they're like, oh okay,
Yeah,
right, we
probably.
need like this bit to happen here because we know that it will be a meme online for like years.
Well, as we get into the later of this season, my opinion of the later of this season is they are doing almost exactly that, where the entire story is based around just trying to get people to react to it and go, "Oh my god, I can't believe it's so and so," and that's the reason why half of the stuff is in there for the later episodes when we get there.
Yeah,
So yes, I
But-
think they're very aware, and it would not surprise me if they were doing these comedic moments just to try create gifs and memes to help the promotion of it.
yeah, yeah. So honestly, man, yeah, that moment right there, has become like probably become one of the most famous parts of the show. and it's and in context, it's hilarious for like the very wrong reasons. But anyway, so we have this training sequence, which is fine. I mean, again, not in line with his character at all. But if this is what we're getting, like, okay, like it's fun, it's fine.
Yeah,
And
there's
then
another bit that was hilarious. Like whenever when I'm saying hilarious in this context, I mean hilariously bad.
yes,
There was another bit where in the montage they're doing the jumping from bike to bike, and there's one bit where the raider successfully jumps, but he needs to fall off, so he jumps, he steadies himself, and then he just throws himself off for some reason.
yeah. Yeah, no, it's oh god, yeah, no, it's
So it's not even a very well done training montage.
no, it's just sort of there. But no, the big day arrives where
We're gonna
the train.
sort out this random train that's just trying to get by.
So this train goes by, and then because apparently they have like national rail in on Tatooine, so they just know when the trains are coming.
Yeah.
But like they got to time it correctly, because if it's anything like it is in Britain, like they're always going to be like half an hour late. So
Yeah.
like it probably was a lot more strenuous than it looked, to be fair. But
Yes.
but yeah, so with all that said and done, the train arrives and it's going past, and basically the heist gets underway. I think this action sequence, just based by itself, is actually like fairly good. I think it's enjoyable.
Yeah, this is the least offensively shot action sequence in the show.
Yeah, no, I mean, like you got some good things. You got like the female Tusken Raider going like through the train, like just dragging people, like dragging the pikes, kind of like like sort of through the top of the train, and coming out, and then the dynamics and the leveling are like the levels of the action sequence are pretty good, and then you get the moment sort of near the end of the heist where Boba's trying to stop the train. And you have this actually pretty good this pretty good droid puppet. I believe it's a puppet. It looked like it. It probably was done with some CGI, but it like the train conductor driver thing. I thought that was pretty fun. And then obviously Boba's like, stop the train, and then he just jumps out the window. You basically get a Doc Ock moment. It's like,
You have a train to catch.
and then we get basically we're going to be described as a Homer saving the space rocket with a rod moment in the show, where Boba Fett sticks his stick into all the train controls and then manages to stop it.
Homer Simpson was the real hero here. He jury-rigged the door close using this.
Hey, what is that? It's an inanimate carbon rod!
But no, in this show, Boba does take the credit for it, unlike Homer, unfortunately. And he takes all the pikes off of the train and
then they extort
basically asks him, "Hey, are you smuggling drugs?" They're like, "No, what is drugs?" And he's like,
Oh, is this the
That's
first mention
drugs.
of, is this the first mention of spice?
"Yes."
Okay. So cool. Just want to know that. So they were transporting spice.
Yeah.
Okay. Still don't get why they were shooting random Tuskens that weren't doing anything.
We thought you were uncivilized raiders. We were trying to protect our route.
They've introduced the lucrative drug trade that a crime lord would be very interested in having as part of their business.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
So now we're at the bit where they extort the train for all of their stuff, but then they force the pikes to. They're given the water thingies, and they have to walk their way back to where they came from.
Yeah, so they're all going to march back, and Boba Fett says that
It's Tusken land or something.
yeah. So the Tuskens have a ancestral right to the Dune Sea.
But why do they?
You've got to answer to them if you want to pass through and everything. And basically, this is the first indication that Boba Fett doesn't like spice. which is still a bit weird because I feel like as a bounty hunter, he probably would have been involved in the spice trade at some point.
I don't see why he would have any care about it. I don't know why he would care.
He didn't like Tuscans were like taking the brunt of this spice trade. Then obviously we've already established that this whole thing doesn't really make much sense. They walk back, then the day is saved. Yay, the train's gone, and you know they've basically given the Pikes a really hard time, and now they're back at the camp. So obviously the rest of the Tuscans are very thankful to Boba Fett for saving the day, and they present to him a gift.
A lizard.
Now,
or is it a branch?
Yes, a lizard.
You receive a lizard in your head.
Yeah, and they sort of like flick this dust towards him as well, which.
Imagine
which
if
then,
it was spice.
Yeah, literally, it looked like it, didn't it?
This is a spice dream.
It literally fucking looked like it. So we basically get a get like a white man with Native Americans and taking some peyote or something, and now he goes on like a spiritual drugs trip.
It's like when Homer has the chili that's too hot.
Yeah, it's when he has the chili and goes on like a path of enlightenment. It's so great.
And this is where we get the origin story of the stick.
Yes, so
which we really needed in our Star Wars, where Boba Fett got his stick from.
Of course, yeah. So he's wandering through the Dune Sea, tripping bollocks basically, and we get like a few more flashbacks to Boba as a kid and Django flying off, and you sort of see imagery of him kind of fading in and out of him being in his armor and him not, sort of signaling some kind of transformation. And then when he's in the tree, it kind of mirrors him being in the Sarlacc and trying to break free. And then he finally comes back with the stick that he got from the tree. And then we get a stick modding segment.
I don't have any huge issues with this, aside from the fact that I don't like that we're spending so much time learning about a stick, because it's just boring, honestly. It's just a really boring thing to watch. But one of the things that I find more funny than anything is just how fascinated he is by the making of this stick.
Yeah.
Like, he's looking at it as if it's like his wife giving birth. He's so intensely fascinated about how they carve the stick up, and it's like, it's just some carpentry, man. Like,
yeah, it's not. It doesn't quite have the wonder of like a Padawan building his lightsaber for the first time. Does it? It doesn't quite have that kind of appeal.
But they're trying so hard to make it this really inspirational moment, and it just falls so flat because it's a fucking stick.
Yeah, I suppose. But that is now his mark of honor in the Tuscan tribe. He gets all robed up, and he has
a stick.
Now as a Tuscan Raider, he's part of the tribe.
Yeah,
and then
this still feels like it happened within the span of about 2 weeks.
Yeah, literally, or more like yeah.
I know it's
meant to have taken place.
I know it's meant to have taken place over years, but the vibe it gives off is a couple of weeks.
Yeah, and then we get it literally does feel like a couple of weeks at this point. But no, anyway, at the end of the episode, the final thing that happens is we get this very sort of Maori inspired dance, which obviously would connect to Temuera Morrison's lineage in real life. So we get a very kind of Maori style dance at the end of it, sort of with the gaffy sticks, kind of like all in unison with the stick. And I thought that was the right way to end the episode. It kind of
it was a decent dance, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It was relatively effective in, I guess, what they were trying to go for.
Yeah.
But either way, there's so many fundamentals leading up to that, which obviously keep it from being like a proper impactful moment.
Yeah, like my issues are so deeply entwined with the entire fundamental nature of what happens in this episode that, like, even though he had a nice dance and he made a nice stick, I don't have that much to criticize about those actual events.
Mm.
I just don't think they should exist in the first place.
Yeah.
So it's like I can't really say much about. It's like, and then they had a nice dance. I'm like, yeah, they did, and it shouldn't have existed in the first place. But yes, it was a nice dance.
Yeah, there'll probably be some kind of Disney Broadway show thing which would incorporate that in there somewhere. I mean, that'd be pretty funny.
Yes, but no, I massively disliked this episode much more when I rewatched it.
Right. Okay. Well, what would you give it out of 10?
A 2.
2. Right.
I'll
I'll probably give it around the same as I gave the first one. I probably enjoyed these two around as much.
I don't see any reason why any of it should exist.
Yeah.
Like, I could say like the train scene itself was decently shot and so on. It had no reason to be there, so it doesn't really matter to me that it was decently shot because
it feels like the only reason they put it in there was to set up some kind of tension between Boba Fett and the Pikes and the spice trade. But that's it, really.
But like, I don't really see what the Pikes have done wrong. They've just been attacked by Tusken Raiders who could have walked off.
Yeah, but like, obviously we think it's pointless, not which obviously at this point it kind of is. It does still give some kind of history between Boba Fett and the Pikes in the story that they're trying to tell. So yeah. I guess if you're really sort of trying to scramble at straws like why this was here, I guess that would be it.
Although I feel like it more sets up his hatred towards the biker gang more so than the Pikes.
Well, yeah, because there was because he actually did just beat the crap out of all of them.
Yeah, he seems like I feel like he more hates the train than the Pikes.
Yes.
Is it this one where he goes and talks to them, or is that the next one? Because I know
that's the next one.
Gotcha. Okay, I'll wait until we get to it then. But what did you think of this episode?
I thought it was okay. Like I feel like that it did have some good moments. I feel like it did have some highs. I think again, like just the direction that they've taken this character is so odd. But I feel like if this is what they're going for and this is what we're getting, like there were some effective moments, like but that's the thing, isn't it? Like I can only like this so much because of how flawed like the fundamentals are, which kind of make it what it is. So I mean, I overall I would say it's okay. I'd say in terms of like a purely enjoyment based thing, I would say I like it more than actually how good it is,
But I also feel like with this direction they've chosen to take him in, they're doing it in the worst possible way they could have. Because they've given us absolutely no reasons to believe that this is what he would do. Like they could, if it was like we have to make him a good guy, there are so many better ways that they could have made him be a good guy than what they've done. So even if you accept that, okay, we've got to change this character into a good guy, it's still bad on those merits because they've done a terrible job at that.
Yeah, no, it's honestly, okay. I'd just like to take a couple of moments just to say like kind of what I think they should have done if they were gonna have Boba be absent for this long. Honestly, I don't even think he should have been on Tatooine between Return of the Jedi and The Mandalorian. Because, again, like, I feel like they had to think of a way for him to have been on Tatooine, but not go after his armor and all of his shit, basically, for the years between Return of the Jedi and The Mandalorian. Like, if they took him off-world or something, like, let's just say he crawled out the side of the pit and got, like, hijacked by, he got captured by some people, got taken off world for quite a while, and then he finally found his way back to Tatooine and then took care of business. Like, that would have worked so much better, I think.
Yeah, but everything has to be on Tatooine because nostalgia.
Yeah, everything has to be on Tatooine because nostalgia. And to be honest, I don't even think it was even considered to really take him off there. It's like, oh, well, the last time we saw him was Tatooine, so then, therefore, he's going to be on Tatooine this entire time.
It's so unimaginative, isn't it?
It sort of makes me think about Darth Maul, because obviously he was dispatched many years ago in The Phantom Menace, and then I think it was 2012, so about 13 years later, they brought him back on the Clone Wars, and there, the thing they used there was that he got picked up and then just dumped on a garbage planet for so many years and got driven insane. Like, I'm thinking, well, what if they didn't do that and they just they made him fall down the pit, and then he got rescued by a bunch of Gungans, and then taken back to the underwater city that they live in. And he was just chilling there for fucking 10 years or whatever. Yeah. And then they managed to fix him up, but then, oh no, they got massacred by battle droids, so now he's on the revenge path against the Separatists. It'd just be dumb, do you know what I mean? I mean, again, I'm not saying that Boba Fett is as inherently evil as Darth Maul was. I mean, Darth Maul was just full of hate and he was consumed by the dark side. I mean, Boba Fett, while he was a villain, he was just trying to get by. So, but I can still see from an audience perspective though, like how that would look. It would look about as bad as the scenario that I just presented, you know?
Yeah, and Boba has just become so feeble when originally he was so dominant.
Exactly, yeah.
Like he's submitted way too easily. He just sort of accepted this life that we don't have any reasons as to why he would accept any of this. Like I would have thought he'd see that train coming through and think, "Oh, that's my way out and back to society."
Didn't happen, did it?
No, we must destroy the train because we need our train scene.
Yeah,
that's a lot of this series as well. It's like we need this scene, so how do we get to that scene?
Yeah,
it's trying to be as safe as possible to not anger as little people as possible, and then by doing that, it's actually pissed off more people.
Yeah,
it's the fence sitting of the Star Wars universe.
Yeah, yeah, literally, yeah. But yeah. Now we're on to the episode that.
Oh god.
We're on to the most infamous piece of modern Star Wars television that we've ever gotten. Like this.
There is so much to go through on this.
Oh god, I tell you what, I'm so excited because this episode, I feel like it's just the point where everyone just sort of went nah.
Yeah, this is the episode where everyone sort of they lost the ability to defend what was happening anymore.
Pretty much. So yeah, this is episode 3. It is entitled Streets of Mos Espa, and it is once again directed by Robert Rodriguez.
Who, can I just say, everything he directs in this feels like Spy Kids with a high budget in terms of the way it's shot.
Yeah, I mean,
because I was rewatching this, and I felt like Dewey could be there doing Spy Kids stuff, and it would look like that.
Yeah, but no, it's just really good you mentioned that actually, because I would just like to take the next couple of minutes just to talk about Robert Rodriguez. As a filmmaker, I love Robert Rodriguez. He's done plenty of movies that I love. Desperado with Antonio Banderas was a great action movie. From Dusk Till Dawn is one of my favourite movies of all time. It has George Clooney, it has Quentin Tarantino, and Harvey Keitel. Great movie, and it has a very great twist near the end, which is just a complete genre change. It's completely great, completely genius. I won't spoil the direction that movie takes, just in case you ever watch it, because it's definitely best to go in with knowing as little as possible. But from Dusk Till Dawn, one of my favourite movies, and Spy Kids. I mean, I grew up with Spy Kids. Looking back, they're pretty dumb, but like they still have a lot of imagination behind them. And Robert Rodriguez is very famous for being able to direct big movies on a very small budget. Like the guy does have a great imagination, and I feel like he has proven that quite a few times. I mean, even with stuff like Sin City, that movie is incredibly well directed. It has a very great noir style. It's all in black and white, and he's never been held down by a single genre. He's dabbled in horror, like in movies like The Faculty. He's done action. He's done like kids movies, Shark Boy and Lava Girl. He does have a lot of talent behind the camera, and I think he is a very, very good filmmaker. But obviously, I think we can all agree that he probably could have gone more. than the other.
I've only seen Spy Kids and Shark Boy and Lava Girl. Shark Boy, that's wrong. Is that right or is that wrong? I can't remember.
Shark Boy and Lava Girl, yeah.
Yeah, I've only seen those films by him, and from seeing those, I would never in a million years pick him to do Star Wars. Because they're
I mean, like,
they're fun
yeah.
kids films, but they're not good.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, yeah, that's obviously the only movies you've seen. So obviously, I guess it's a bit hard to make a comparison. But like, and I'd say that's probably like some of the worst examples of his capabilities, because he has done some really good movies. But obviously, yeah, that is definitely a side to him, which I think did shine through a bit too prominently on this project. But yeah, anyway.
Anyway, we need to get to the
let's talk about the episode.
It's the water bit first, isn't it?
So yeah, we start off with this water merchant coming in and shouting the odds, saying, well, no, first he insults Boba by saying that nobody respects him, which again should have been a moment where Boba's just like, ha, no, and then shoots him. But
he can't. They're adverse to using blasters in this series. This is, I think, is this. Jumping forward ever so slightly, is this the one where the Wookiee attacks him?
Yes.
Yeah, so this is the one where I was screaming for someone to please just use a blaster. Anyway, we'll carry on where we were.
Yeah, so, but then he this is the funniest part, right? This is the funniest fucking part. So, this guy turns to Boba and asks him to deal with his issue, and he presents it in such a cruel, scary manner where he's like,
they are half man, half machine. They modify their bodies with droid parts to make themselves even more deadly. I beseech you, Lord Fett, rid the streets of Mos Espa of this scourge, and I will double my tribute to you.
Us just not knowing what we're in for, build up this image in our heads of these most like terrifying like cyborg things who are just wreaking havoc across the town, almost like a General Grievous type thing or something. I mean, this guy's really putting on a show like to try
he's really selling it.
Like build up some tension towards these people. So we're like, okay, so this will be the base of the episode. Boba's maybe gonna just go and sort out this issue. Sort of like a side quest or something.
Yeah.
So him and Fennec and the Gamorreans, obviously.
Because he can't go anywhere without them.
yeah, just in case someone comes out with a tickle stick and he needs them to save his ass. They head into they head into Mos Espa, and they come across these terrifying cyborg things. They end up just being a bunch of British teenagers.
Yeah.
Which within, I mean, look, I've been around in Britain. I mean, British teenagers can be pretty scary, especially if they got, especially if they got attitude, But this just isn't what I was expecting, really.
No. And they look they don't look right, if that makes sense.
Yeah, they especially don't really look like they belong on Tatooine. Like, I feel like someone like Coruscant, maybe, or somewhere else, maybe would have been more accommodating to that look. But
they look like they've come from Spy Kids into Star Wars.
Yeah, they literally do. They literally like the Spy Kids with all the gadgets and stuff. Like,
yeah, it's the guy.
He's not the guy. I am.
I'm the guy, yeah.
But yeah, so he's all then like, they're like, we don't steal water. There is no water, or the water's too expensive or something.
Yeah, it's just like Boba's like, oh, stealing's a crime. It's like, yeah, mate, but it's a crime what they charge for it, you know.
It's like,
I
okay,
mean-
but it's still a crime to steal the water.
Yeah, but it's just like, how would you justify charging a month's wages for a week's water or something, and then
Yeah, but Boba, this is the bit, because the guy comes out and he's all like, make them pay me. And then Boba gives him 500 and says, that's enough. It's like, how does Boba know how the economics of water work in this town?
fuck knows.
Like, does Boba know exactly how much it costs to get and store this water? What if this guy's barely breaking even?
Yeah, but then also the thing that kind of brings him to his side is the fact that he finds out that they're not working because apparently there is no work, and he basically brings up this whole this parents this old guy scowling, just telling off these kids being like, oh, you should be working, and then well, if you don't work, I'll give you a job, and then the girl.
Why does he employ them, though?
Well, she turns around and calls him an old man. And then, again, another point. You should have just shot her.
Yeah.
Don't call me an old man.
Oh, that would be better. Then we wouldn't have to deal with them anymore.
Yeah, but hey, no. I mean, there's more. More that comes on.
But why would he... What reason does he have to hire these people in any capacity whatsoever?
Literally, the only reason that's presented is that he feels sorry for them and he hopes that it will prevent them from committing any more crime.
But why does he care?
I don't know. He shouldn't.
Just put them, if they're stealing, put them in the equivalent of whatever prison is in this place.
Yeah.
And then go back, do some research into the economics of water in Mos Espa, and then go back and discuss whether this guy is charging too much.
Yeah, but no, he didn't. So, okay, right. I just want to talk about these. I just want to talk about these cyborgs for just the next couple of minutes, because there seems to be a lot of debate behind the inspiration behind these characters. Because I think you said it yourself. Like, this doesn't really have a place here. Like, what's going on? So I've heard some people say that it's more of a callback to one of George Lucas's earlier movies before Star Wars, called American Graffiti, which was set in the 50s. Everyone was driving around in like brightly coloured cars and everything. So some people say it's like an inspiration to that. But what I think, which is really weird, is that they seem to have taken some inspiration from the mod versus rock sort of time period that happened in the 1960s in Britain. I don't know how much you know about this, but the culture of mods, mods versus rock, like the mods used to ride around on brightly coloured scooters that looked just like the scooters that they drive in this. And what did they end up calling them? Because they're modifications, they started calling them the mods, which is really weird. Wait, are they setting up like a mods versus rockers thing here? Because obviously they're the mods, and then it's like the speed gang bikers with like the leather jackets. Are they meant to be the rockers?
I don't think.
Is that what's going? What's happening?
I don't think
what is happening here?
I genuinely think that the inspiration for them was Robert Rodriguez went, "Oh, Star Wars is for children. What's that other thing I've made for children? Oh yeah, let's bring some of that into this." That's where I think the inspiration for them came from, and it does not mesh at all with what Star Wars is, really.
No, definitely not. I always feel like Star Wars has appealed to all ages, whereas this just seems a bit too.
It's another case of like merchandising as well. Like, I'm sure they were hoping that these bikers would become very popular and they'd be able to sell many an action figure or whatever with these characters.
I definitely couldn't imagine as a kid like wandering into like the bloody toy store and then picking up the mods from Book of Boba Fett, the action figure playset would come with the bikes and everything. Like, oh god. But yeah, either way. So that's what we have. here we have the mods, which, to be honest with you, I would have preferred to have just gotten all the other bounty hunters from the original trilogy, like Bosk, Dengar, IG-88 if he's still around. You know, just those people, because that would have been really bad. That's what I was expecting going in, but no, we have the mods.
Because some teenagers on some neon-coloured bikes.
Yeah, literally.
Also,
British teenagers, no less.
Yeah, and they're also the only neon-coloured thing in the entire show. Everything else is like subdued colouring, except those fucking bikes. After that, we're then back into the back to tank, aren't we?
Yes, we are briefly. So, yeah, this is another really confusing part. So, Boba Fett goes to speak to the Pike leader and asks him for protection.
I thought he was demanding that the Pikes pay him protection.
Oh yeah, that was it. Yeah. So he was demanding that the Pikes pay him protection, but then apparently they were paying protection to another party, so they didn't want to be taken advantage of. So it's like, oh, okay, whatever, and then leaves.
And then he returns, and they're all dead.
They're all dead. Bum bum bum. Yeah, they're all dead. They've all been incinerated, and then obviously the biker gang mark is put onto one of the tents to lead him to believe that they're responsible.
Again, I guess it was actually the Pikes that did it, so they're setting
Yeah,
him up.
so they obviously planted it. They put it there to make him think that. So who knows? Maybe they wouldn't have done that, like the actual bikers. But yeah,
You never know because they're all dead.
Yeah. Either way, Boba Fett is absolutely heartbroken. He's like crying. He's burning all the bodies and the gappy sticks.
I was celebrating
everything.
at this point. I was so happy. I was thrilled because I thought this meant we were finally finished with this awful storyline.
But no. But so this flashback ends very abruptly because his back to tank gets thrown open, and then Black Chrysanthemum fucking throttles him and throws him out, and you're like, wait, what?
Yeah.
How the fuck did he get in there?
Yeah. Who's defending this place? There's so many questions. One, who's defending Boba's palace, and why haven't they spotted this 7-8 foot huge furry person coming in? Second, why does he strangle him? Why doesn't he just fucking shoot him?
Yeah, either shoot him or rip him apart. Like honestly, he just starts throwing him around.
He does the one thing that gives Boba a chance of surviving.
Yeah,
it's a terrible assassination attempt.
And literally, he at one point he takes Boba. He's about to crush it. He's about to crush him, which obviously would have worked. But no, then the mods come in.
Yeah,
to save
none of
the
them
day.
with blasters either.
Now, one of them was using a blaster, I think, but he was walking towards him just with his arm outstretched in front of him, which then gave him a pretty open opportunity to disarm him.
And they've got their individual weapons that can all be sold. And then we get to watch one of the worst action scenes ever put to film.
And that's the other thing, Black Chrysanthemum. I mean, I don't know too much about the character, but I know he's pretty big in the comics. Black Chrysanthemum is a fucking badass. He could take anyone down. He is a proper gladiator savage, basically. He would have just killed all the mods, but no.
Yeah, I don't believe that now. I think he's an idiot.
Yes. So, but I mean, at this point, Boba Fett has been beating the shit out. He's taken a punch to the face with electric knuckle dusters. He's been thrown around. He's almost been crushed, and so obviously the fight gets taken downstairs. It's a pretty funny shot where Black Chrysanthemum rugby tackles the Gamorrean guards down the stairs.
Yep.
And it just looks hilarious. And then he beats one of them up real bad, and then finally Fennec shows up. Don't know what the fuck she was doing.
Where was she all this time?
Yeah, she just shows up. It's oh yeah, stand back, and then gets him to fall down the trap. But no, he's still holding on, just about.
Yeah, and then
I know you love this bit, Matt.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I'll let you take it from here.
Yeah, she At this point, not a single person, apart from that one guy with the really weak blaster, has used their blaster. Black Chrysantha could have shown up with a blaster, shot Boba in the face, be done with it. He didn't. Boba could have grabbed his blaster. He instead decided to jump on his back for some reason. At any point, anyone could have come in and just shot him. And then Fennec picks up her gun, and you think, finally, someone's gonna have the sense to use the technology that this world is famous for. But no, she pulls out a knife and throws it instead.
It's almost like these weird ninja stars, isn't it? That she kind of like pulls out of
It's
the
almost like
stock of
going,
her rifle.
we
and
could
then...
shoot, but nah.
Nah, that'd just be too easy. Honestly, one of my least favourite moments of the show happens, and it might sound silly for how little it is, but after all this, Boba literally just runs out as if he's literally just got out of the bath or something in a dressing gown.
Yeah.
He's like, "Oh, what's going on? Everything okay?" It's just like, are you serious? Like, one, you've not got a scratch on you. Two, you didn't even know until you got into like the throne room that the situation was dealt with. And three, you're just sort of like, oh yeah, is everyone all right? I mean, you should have just suited up, got your weapons out, been like, right, let's take care of business. Where is this fucker? But no, it's just like, oh hey, is everyone, oh, he looks pretty hurt. He can use my back to tank. Yeah, go on, get him up there. And then Fennec just sort of gives him this like head shake, like I don't even know what that meant. Does it mean like you should have taken care of business? Does it mean hey, that kind of suck? I don't know.
Yeah.
So anyway,
it's absolutely appallingly
honestly,
bad.
like the direction of that fight scene was dreadful. I mean, I feel like I'm slightly forgiving about a lot of some of the aspects of the show, but that one is just nah.
Yeah,
nah, they dropped the ball there. So, next scene, he's having a feast with Fennec.
Yeah,
and he basically just says, he's just like, oh yeah, no more food. Because apparently he has so much to prove that he's not going to get any bad eating habits.
But where did all
even though he has all this food available to him, he's like, nah. I'm still going to be the underdog, even though I'm trying to be the... Oh, I don't fucking know.
Two people show up.
Ugh. Yes, so the Jabba's cousins come back, and they basically say, hey, look, we're real sorry that we hired Chrysanthemum to come kill you. We thought that we had the right to Mos Espa, but actually it's been promised to somebody else, another syndicate. And then Bo was like, okay, well, you can have your Wookiee back. And they're like, nah, we don't want him. You can keep him. And then, but we brought you something else. And then, oh god, I swear to God, when I first watched this, I burst out laughing. So we get a Rancor come in, and it's being delivered by none other than Danny Trejo. If you didn't know that this was directed by Robert Rodriguez, you would definitely know that. Danny Trejo was in the Spy Kids movies. He was Machete in Spy Kids. He is basically been in all of Robert Rodriguez's movies, and he's also Robert Rodriguez's second cousin.
Oh, that's why he's there then.
But like, it's just really Danny Trejo as a Rancor keeper. Like in concept, this is pretty fun. I would say like that is pretty cool. I do like that. But just, I feel like just because of how obvious it was a weird sort of mixture of glee and also like what the fuck is going on? What world am I living in? Yeah, basically what happens? So Boba Fett says to Chrysanthemum, oh hey, yeah, no hard feelings, but don't work for douchebags. Basically, it's like what? No hard feelings? You're saying to the guy who broke into your house and tried to kill you, oh yeah, no hard feelings about keeping you locked up for a night. Just be careful out there. Don't be careful who you work for and who you trust. And then Chrysanthemum literally runs off into the desert as if you've just freed him in an old video game, and they just run off, and he's gone. Anyway, so we got the Rancor.
No, but why these twins? Why doesn't he just shoot them there and then again, now that they have absolutely no defense? and he just survives an assassination attempt from them. Also, why would he believe them?
Yeah, I mean, they've clearly tried to double cross him at least once now, you know?
Yeah, so why would he have any faith in them whatsoever to believe that they are just gonna go away? Like, I didn't think they were just gonna go away. I thought this was a, oh yes, we're gonna go away, and then they'd be the big bad again. But no, they do just go away.
Yeah, like literally, I thought they were setting something up with those two, but yeah, just nothing happened. Nothing
yeah,
happened.
they just went away, and it made the entire thing that we had just watched utterly pointless.
Yes, literally.
And in fact, actually, it makes everything we've seen so far pointless, really.
Yeah.
Now, in terms of story, the only thing of note that has happened is, well, nothing really. Like, events have happened, but none of them mean anything.
Yeah. Yeah, literally. So, okay, right. So we then get this. We then get this scene with Danny Trejo. I don't even care if Danny Trejo has like a name, like his character has a name in the show. I'm just gonna call him Danny Trejo or Machete because why would I call him anything else? So they're in this conversation in the Rancor pit about how Rancors can be savages, but they're also very loyal to people that they imprint on, I guess.
They're like the wolves from Twilight.
Yeah, oh yeah. No. Just no.
I am Team
But anyway,
Rancor, not Team Jacob.
yeah. But no, so we have. But this conversation is still so weird because he's basically trying to really sell this idea to Boba, even though Boba clearly knows exactly what a Rancor is because he served alongside Jabba the Hutt, who had a Rancor and had no problems with him using it, by the way. Yeah, some good guy. And he also he would just know these things. But and also, why is he trying to like sell this to Boba even though it's already in his possession? It's already been gifted to him. He doesn't really have to. I mean, I know why. I mean, it's just as exposition to the audience who might not know these things. But
yeah, what they're actually doing is they're selling it to the audience to try and make it believable that Boba can ride it. That's all that this exists for.
Yeah. Which, hey, I wonder if that's going to come up later on.
And it's still utterly unbelievable.
Yeah, but so he gets a very disturbing news that the mayor is completely booked up for the next however long.
Oh my god, we're getting to the chase.
Yeah, it's like, oh right, well this won't stand. I'm gonna go see him now. So, oh god, it just didn't look okay. So even the entrance, that Fennec and Boba are walking up. Okay, right in the middle.
Yeah, is this where they walk up with the bikers?
Mods, like
yeah,
like to either side, and they're just it just why? So they go in, and obviously Mok Shaiz is still there, and he's like, oh yes, well the mayor is completely booked up, and then Fennec flashes the hip, just like, yeah, we're not taking shit, buddy. Go get the mayor. And then Boba turns around and says, was that really necessary? A little heavy-handed, don't you think? Or something. And then Fennec goes, well, do you want the appointment or not? It's like, good fucking question, Fennec. Again, you are like the only voice of reason in this show.
Have you noticed, Boba, that you've had 2 assassination attempts now?
Yeah. Yeah, maybe. Oh, could you imagine? Can you imagine if he said that to Darth Vader when he was like freezing Han Solo in carbonite? Just goes up to him and says, "Oh, that was a little heavy-handed, don't you think?" It's
That was a bit heavy-handed, don't you think?
What a bizarre line.
Right, let's just get to the moment that we've all been waiting for. Go in, they see that Mok Shaiz is gone, and they're like, oh, okay, shit, he's made a runner. And then, oh dear, they go out and they say, They tell the mods, "Hey, get after him," and then we get
The
the
worst.
slowest, the most painstakingly just bad chase scene I think we've ever had in Star Wars, ever.
Yes. Where there is so much wrong with it on a technical standpoint as well. Like, I was watching it back, and there's bits where the motion blur of the mods going through frame does not match the speed of the camera that's moving with them.
Oh,
Like, they've got motion blur as if
shit.
they're going at like top speed, but the camera's moving. Them and the camera are moving so slowly that it just looks like they're blurry.
Oh no, it looks so odd, doesn't it? It's literally like there'll be like a couple of segments where like it'll look like it'll almost be like a like just a shot of them on the bikes, like looking all mean, like yeah, we got purpose, and then behind them it'll be so blurry because it'll look like they're going really fast, but then it will actually have just a shot of like all the bikes, and they're literally just going at like a snail's pace. It's almost like yeah.
Yeah,
No,
I am. Well, I'm not shocked because they put out Rise of Skywalker, but I can't believe that they actually allowed this to go out on air.
Yeah.
I can't believe that there wasn't someone somewhere going, this is awful. Why are we letting this be published?
Yeah, and also like the entire tone of the chase is so just hammy and hokey as well. Like, you know, they have like a funny part, I guess, where like one of them drives through a painting of Jabba the Hutt, and
Yeah,
then
they had to, like, why is there two people carrying a painting like that of Jabba the Hutt?
and then obviously it ends with a Back to the Future reference, I guess, where he swerves into like a fruit container or something which spills all over his speeder, and you get like a Biff Tanner moment where he hates manure, you know.
And then Boba shows up with his jetpack.
Yeah, then Boba just flies down with his jetpack. He probably could have just caught up to him easily.
Why didn't we just have Boba chasing him with his jetpack as the scene?
I know, just like fire a rocket barrage at the engine, like up in the air, and then just have it
Yeah, he's
overturned.
shown that he's not adverse to using rockets when they're completely unnecessary. So why hasn't he used them here?
Exactly, yeah. But yeah, either way, the mods get this badass moment where they stopped.
It's not badass.
Holshies, I guess.
And
then he's like, right, well, look, where is the mayor? You're surrounded. There is no way for you to get away, so you might as well spill. And then he says, okay, fine. The mayor's working with the Pikes, and he's gone off world. There you go.
On my first time watching it, my reaction was, I don't know who the Pikes are, because I had completely forgotten about the whole train thing.
But no, so then we get a little recon mission from one of the mods.
Oh yeah.
He says, oh yeah. There's about a dozen at least, and I'm going to remember that because it's now been established that the Pikes have arrived in numbers, and they do mean business. But oh god, I've just remembered something else. The Pikes, like, they arrive on Tatooine via like a public transport. Why? It's like, oh god, it's almost like the Mexican cartel going across like the border just on a bus, and then they all get out and they're like, yeah, we mean business. And it's why? Surely if they're like this massive like crime syndicate, they'd actually have like some of their own ships. But no, they just get off the bus and it's like, oh yeah, we're here now. Basically, that's how I viewed it anyway.
No, that there's a lot of weird use of public transport in this show.
Yeah. So yeah, we then have this very awkwardly placed joke where Boba says, yeah, just keep an eye on things, and then says, oh, sorry, just an expression. And the guy's just like, yeah, no need to be sorry, mate. And it's just like, oh, why?
Okay.
Just why? And then, yeah, the episode ends with Fennec saying, oh, they're going to war, even though... What? How do you know that? But either way, okay, they're going to war, and then Boba's like, then we will be ready, and then it ends, and then
Boba cares about being PC now.
yeah,
He's so far the other way that he also not only does he not want to be a bad guy, he just doesn't want to offend people anymore. Fennec's being too harsh with her methods. He accidentally made a comment about an eye with a guy that only has one, and immediately apologized for it. Like, what has happened? What has happened to Boba Fett?
Yeah. But yeah, there you go. So episode chapter 3, Streets of Mos Espa, has come to a close. So
It's terrible from top to bottom.
I would ask what you think of it, but to be honest, I think I'd much rather just ask you, did you have fun talking about this one? Because we
Yes.
already know how it is, but
Yes, I would rate it a 1 out of 10.
I'd probably give it a 3.
Oh wow,
Just on a
that's
pure
low for you.
enjoyment basis. Just a pure enjoyment basis of
Oh,
like,
enjoyment. If we're going enjoyment, I'll give it like a fucking 6 or 7 because it's that
Yes.
bad.
But yeah, no, this is by far the worst episode of the show, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely
And
nothing makes sense.
It honestly, I think it really did kind of put Robert Rodriguez to a point of basically no return with his work on this show. I still love Robert Rodriguez, okay, which was why I mentioned earlier. I think he is a great director, but here he's just dropping the ball, man. Like, he really is. And it sucks because I wanted it to be good. I wanted him to do well here, but
But it's also John Favreau's writing though. Don't let him off the hook.
oh yeah, no, yeah. And again, I love John Favreau. He's honestly like one of the honestly, in terms of like fandom and franchises, he's one of the best people around for that kind of thing. You know, Marvel
like,
and with the Mandalorian. But here again, it's what happened. You know, like,
It's crazy that he's been given the chance to make a show about one of the most beloved characters in a franchise, and he clearly just doesn't care.
yeah.
Like, he
Or at least I hope that's the case. Because if he really is,
if this is him really trying, it's like, oh god, what would happen?
yeah, well, what's happening here?
How good is it when he doesn't care? If this is him doing his best, how bad will it actually be?
Yeah, so yeah, that was episode 3. Right, so now we're on chapter 4, which is titled The Gathering Storm, directed by Kevin
Good luck.
Tankaroan.
I don't know.
I give up. I'm not going to butcher it any further. So yeah, that guy. So he directed this one. So again, so far we've kind of followed the formula of we get one Rodriguez episode, then another one, then another Rodriguez episode, and then another one. So obviously now we start off with another flashback.
Yeah, I thought we'd be over the flashbacks at this point, but apparently that's what we have to carry on doing.
Yes, of course. Yeah, of course. So yeah, so we see Boba Fett approaching Jabba's palace, or I guess it's now Bib Fortuna's palace, I guess. And
I guess so.
He's scoping it out, and he's like, "Oh yeah, too many people." So he has a little ride around with his bantha, and he eventually sees like the flares go up into the sky, which obviously we know from the Mandalorian season 1. So we kind of know what place and time this is taking place. This is taking place during the first season of the Mandalorian, where in that episode we got introduced to Fennec Shand. Now, obviously, we got Boba Fett discovering her in the state that she is, which we know that he did because we saw that in that episode. Yeah, do you remember we saw like the legs walking up to her and then kneel down? Then we never saw what it was. And to be fair,
I believe at the time that they might not have known it was Boba because it was so. It could have been anyone. It was a tease that sort of left it open to be whoever they wanted to be. So if us as people were then like, it's Boba Fett, they could then go, yes, it was Boba Fett. Well done.
See, I'm not sure. I mean, like, I feel like that might have been planned for quite a while because of how perfectly the shots are laced into each other. Which, like, if that is the case, then I do have to give props there because it does show kind of how far this far back this has been planned out, which is obviously something which is sorely lacking from the sequel movies. So I at least appreciate there is a plan underway here.
I don't know. I don't believe there is. I think it's literally just vague tease, and then we'll make it whoever seems to be the most popular choice.
Do you think they all know it's Boba? This is a prediction.
The
they gonna know it's
hardcore
Boba?
debate will be they'll say no, that's
Mando.
Mando, and then they'll be like, no, that's a Boba Fett sound. They're messing with us.
But yeah, either way, we get what we know to have happened in the Mandalorian. So Boba Fett kneels down and checks and sees that it's Fennec Shand. Obviously, she's dying because she took a blaster shot to the stomach. So she's on her way out.
Character.
She's on death. Yeah, oh yeah, but my favorite character. Yeah, that guy. Yeah, I love that guy. He ruled. So she's based on death's door, and then he takes her to I guess like a mod workshop of sorts. Almost like it's almost meant to be like a tattoo parlor esque thing, and you see all these other mods sort of just like hanging around, and then you get there, and then he brings her in, says, "Oh yeah, this woman needs modification." The guy says, "Oh yeah, no walk-ins, appointments only," and then drops some credits and says, "Oh well, she's about to die." He's like, "Well, you should have just said that." I love that. It's almost like going out of his way to just show that Boba Fett just doesn't know how to do life, you know, like
How incompetent can we make Boba Fett look?
After that, we get admittedly a pretty cool like montage, like has some pretty good music of him modify the modder, the tattoo artist, the mod artist, modifying Fennec Shand, and then there's actually one line of dialogue I actually did kind of like Boba Fett turns around and says, "Oh, you're not gonna like cover it up," and then he says something along the lines of, "Well, would you want to cover up such great machinery?" Like that's kind of fun because I feel like that's definitely what like someone in the real world would say who's in that kind of profession. Just sort of like, "Oh, look, it's beautiful. Why would you want to cover that up?" You know. So like, yeah, that was fine. That was an alright bit of dialogue. Like that gets the okay from me. After that, she wakes up and like anyone would is like, "Okay, well, what the fuck's going on?" And then Boba's like, "Hey, you're mine. I saved your life, so you're gonna help me bust into Jabba's palace." And then we
Does he
get
even know
like,
who this lady is?
yeah, no. I mean, like I don't think so. Anyway, like it was never
How would he know who she was? As far as he knows, it's just some random lady that he found dying in the sands.
I mean, I'm not sure. I mean, I could be missing something here because obviously they're both pretty renowned, you know, assassins, bounty hunters.
Yeah, but
and
he's been
everything.
out of the game for 7 years.
Yeah, I mean, Fennec Shand had been around for quite a long time, so he might have known, but I can't confirm either way, so I'm not gonna go with either one. But
So
at the same time,
potentially-
there is no line of dialogue. It's like, yes, you are Fennec Shand, and I've heard a lot about you, and
Yeah, so
but
potentially this is just a random person to him.
yeah, potentially. So he says. He introduces her to Boba Fett, and then she says, "Oh, Boba's dead." So she clearly knows about Boba, and so he talks her into helping him steal back his Firespray gunship, because you're not allowed to say Slave One anymore. Yeah, it's another thing Disney's done. They've got you banned. They've cancelled Slave One because apparently it's too offensive. Which then if it's a bad guy's ship, then obviously it would have like a pretty messed up name like that, I suppose. But then okay, I'm not getting into that. I'm not getting into that.
I feel like that might be, because I've not heard that, so I feel like there's a potential for it some people on an extreme end somewhere making a fuss to try and make an issue out of nothing.
Yeah.
They might have just decided, because I'm pretty sure the ship itself probably the manufacturers, I presume, didn't call it Slave One. It's probably like a TI-42 or something, like a name like that.
Yeah, so I think the actual ship is known as like a fire spray gunship, but they just ditched the name Slave One. And again, I feel like it.
Or they
I
might,
feel like it is. Yeah.
They might have just been referring to it as its actual name so that she knew what it was. If he had said, because she might not know what Slave One is.
Yeah.
So if he said this is Slave One, she might have been expecting a literal slave.
Yeah.
If he says the name of the ship, she'll go, "Oh, you mean a ship? Cool, I know what you mean now."
Yeah. So I mean, so either way, they have the conversation about about getting the ship back, and she's like, "Oh well, if it's yours, then why don't you just go ask for it back?" And then he said, "Oh, because I'm afraid I might not like the answer that I get." It's just like, well, why don't you just try that first? I mean, I know why, because they didn't have time to write in a scene where he knocks on the door, says, "Can I push it back?" And they're like, "Nah," and then just close the door on him, and then.
Or if he was still a bad guy, he could just be like, "I want to kill them."
Yeah, but no, and then, but yeah, that's just dumb. But I mean, he does say that he's less convincing without his Beskar, and that's why he's afraid they'll say no. Which, fine, okay.
If you're nothing without the suit, then you don't deserve it.
Yes.
If you're nothing without the Beskar, then you don't deserve the Beskar.
Yeah, Tony Stark dropping some life lessons there that applies to even a galaxy far, far away. But yeah, so the plan of infiltration starts. They break in via like the system that leads to the kitchen, and that's where you get to see all like the kitchen staff. So you have one droid that he just smashes the hell out of, and it's the same droid from Return of the Jedi, I believe. And then you get this other one who's like the chef, and he starts spinning his arms with like all the kitchen tools, and it's almost like a General Grievous moment. Like...
Or like Bart Simpson and Lisa, it's like, I'm going to spin my arms and walk forward, and if you get hit, that's your fault.
Yeah. Yeah, but no, Fanning just, slits his throat, I guess, which, shuts him down.
Slit the throat of a droid. I don't remember any of this, by the way. This was the episode I got to on my rewatch.
There was a cable in his neck, which he just cut, and then he just shut down. Oh. And then we have one more droid who shows up, and this is really weird to me. So he's trying to be all good guy Boba Fett. But there's one little droid who starts running around, and he goes around the entire kitchen, smashing things up, trying to get to it. And then he finally gets to it, and it's literally this the littlest helpless droid you've ever seen in your life, who's quite frankly terrified. He literally grabs it by the neck, pushes it up against the wall, and goes, "You know who I am? You know who I am? I'm Boba Fett." And then the droid just switches itself off because he just can't take it. He's just like, no, I'm done.
Well, that kind of shows that the only person he's willing to... Boba Fett is so pathetic now that the only person he's willing to, or thing that he's willing to take on is a small, helpless droid. Everyone else is no, we must be respectful.
Also, there's some dialogue later where Boba Fett says...
There's an advantage to people thinking you're dead.
And he just goes around just saying... Just announcing to this little droid, "I am Boba Fett." So...
Well, they must know I'm dead, but runs around telling everyone that he's Boba Fett.
Even though, oh god, no, okay, I'm just gonna move on from this scene because why? So, okay, so eventually they get into the palace hangar and they find the fire spray gunship, which I even find the reveal kind of strange because they get in there and. The music ramps up. Boba Fett is the camera goes to Boba Fett. He's like, "Oh yeah, cool. I found my ship. Look at him. It's magnificent." And the music it's built up as this really big moment. Whereas I remember when it first appeared in The Mandalorian, it actually was done really kind of appropriately. Literally, it just comes into frame. There's a slight music cue, and then you're like. you know, the audience does the rest. It's like, oh shit, that's Slave One, that's the five-story gunship. You know, I mean, it was quite a subtle way to reintroduce it, whereas like they didn't introduce it again in this, and then they're like, oh, you know, it's just why?
Yeah, as well.
Why?
They've got to make it. They're trying to make it legendary on the same sort of status as the Millennium Falcon.
Yeah, but even when that was introduced in The Force Awakens, it just sort of came into frame, and then, you know, again, I think that was even done quite appropriately. But then here, it's just like, yeah, again, it's odd. But anyway, we got a lot more to get through with this. So
this episode feels like there's a lot to get through, but also nothing happens.
yeah, which bears quite similar to a lot of the other ones, I think. But anyway, so they managed to get onto the ship after taking out a few guards, and they both compliment each other on, yeah, they're just like, yeah, nice job, whatever. And then they get in the ship, and this is basically the first indication that Fennec Shand does most of the work. You know, he's in the ship trying to get it out, and he ends up like crushing like just a whole portion of like the ceiling of the hangar, like trying to get out of there. And she's the one that gets it open. She's the one that takes care of business. She like fights a Gamorrean guard on the ship, and then they finally make their way out and they fly off. And then obviously at this point, her debt's repaid. She got the ship back, and it's like, okay, cool, nice one. But no, she's like, okay, I'm just along for the ride. Now,
why?
This again is really weird, because when she was introduced in The Mandalorian, when Boba says, oh yeah, sometimes fate states into to rescue the wretched, she said, well, in my case, that was Boba Fett. So I'm now in his service. I kind of thought there might have been some kind of life debt situation going on here, like, you know how Jar Jar placed a life debt to Qui-Gon Jinn for saving his life. You know, like, and that seems to be like a thing in Star Wars. I'm pretty sure Chewbacca has a life debt to Chewbacca has a life debt to Han Solo as well. It's something like, I thought like they were maybe going something like that. Like, you know, Fennec's is very devoted to like honor and everything. So she's like, right, this guy saved my life, so now I owe him my life debt. So like, I'm now in his service. But no, it's just sort of like 1 minute she's like, all right, fine. I hope it was one thing, then I'm off. But then they just fly away. Just like, fuck it, I'll stay. You know, it's really weird.
It's because they don't want to have a woman enslaved to Boba Fett.
That is probably the reason, yeah.
Like, and because Boba's a good guy now, he can't possibly have someone owe him a life debt, because that's what something Jabba would do.
Yeah, exactly. But no, either way, when she asks, "Oh, so what's next?" He says, "Oh, I've got a score to settle." And okay, I won't lie, I do actually really enjoy this next scene. But you got the bikers, and he literally just blows the shit out of all of them. I mean, I thought that was hilarious. It just blows up. He's got this really mean look on his face. He's just like, yeah, die. And then like the last guy, like, which is supposed to be the leader, I suppose, he literally fires like a homing missile that we saw in Attack of the Clones. It just obliterates it. It's like, it's total overkill, but it is so fun. Like, I still like that scene. I think it's hilarious. But
yeah, I think it's ridiculous. It's just like, how do you even know that those are the right bikers? You've just attacked a random group of bikers flying around. Like, they could have just they had families potentially. You've now orphaned a ton of children.
Yeah, but no, it's fine. He's now avenged the Tuscans now, right? Right?
Not necessarily, because like I said, we don't know. He does not know if they are the right ones.
Yeah, and
Like,
also
they didn't show any scenes of him like tracking, making sure they were the correct target. It's just we just you have to believe that those are the ones that did the bad thing. But I don't know if I believe that, because who knows?
Yeah. Oh. Okay. Yeah. This scene, I don't. This like seems dumb. Okay. So we have
All of the
He's like,
suits are
right,
dumb.
I need to go and get I need to go and find my Beskar. So they fly
Yeah.
over to the pit of Carcoon, the Sarlacc pit on the Dune Sea, and the wreckage of Jabba's sail barge is still there. And he's like, here I was, trapped all those years ago, and then years? Again, we've alluded to this before, like in this discussion, but like it just doesn't feel like years.
No, it genuinely feels like maybe 2 or 3 months at this point.
Yeah, like at this point, maybe a few months. Yeah, but like years?
No, it doesn't feel like
Come
years at all.
Yeah, I mean the entire excuse this is basically just an excuse to have him go up to the Sarlacc again and then have like a little sequence there. So,
Yeah, and
but
it
honestly,
makes
the
no sense.
entire thing is so dumb because you have so he's in the ship. He literally tips himself, so he's facing into the Sarlacc pit in the Slave One ship. Still lowers himself down almost to the point of like not being able to get any further without literally just going into the sand, and then obviously and then it comes awake, which okay, I will admit it was a pretty effective jump scare. I'll say that, but
Well,
it then
you
just
can see the jump scare coming a mile off.
yeah, and I kind of like how they made a compromise between the special editions and the original cut because the original cut literally didn't have the beak or anything, and then the special editions did. So I feel like kind of going a bit in between was a cool compromise. But either way, the Sarlacc literally drags it in and is able to hold the entire weight of the ship and drag it into it. And to be honest, I didn't think it would ever be that strong. Really, it's
Yeah.
like if that could happen, it could literally just drag in all the skiffs from Return of the Jedi and just pull them in. Like but.
And it gets dumber because he then drops a seismic charge into it.
Well, he doesn't even do it. Fennec does that.
Yeah,
like
but not even that.
again.
I guess they're praying that the seismic charge falls the correct way.
Well, yeah, because if it goes vertically, then
they've just killed themselves.
Yeah. No, luckily it went horizontally, so
But
the
like
Sarlacc is dead.
that's such a I don't believe Fennec would do that. Like Fennec's smart enough to know if I drop this seismic charge, there's a 50-50 chance I'm just gonna kill us both. So why would she drop it in with that percentage chance?
Yeah, to be honest, like I think what I would have enjoyed more out of this sequence is if like after coming off of the heat of him destroying the bike again, like him just going, right, okay, next thing, and then just flying straight over to Sark and just dropping a seismic charge and then just flying off. Like that I think that would have like kept up the momentum of the last thing that we saw, and I think it would have added to the ridiculous I'm Boba Fett, I've got my ship back and I'm just gonna destroy everything,
It's like GTA and you put like unlimited you put like in God mode on.
Yeah. So I mean, I think those two would have complemented each other quite nicely, but sadly they just had to write in that he was looking for his Beskar and he had to lower himself down there, and it all just okay.
But the entire reason did he lower himself down there to try find the Beskar?
Yeah, he put
So
on the light.
The entire reason that he lowered himself down there is a plot hole.
Yeah. Literally, and they could have just not had the plot hole and just had him blow up the Sarlacc because it ate him, or it tried to eat him.
Yeah, that's kind of indicative of their writing style. They're happier to have a huge gaping plot hole so that they can have their way with the thing they want to show. Like they don't care that it doesn't make sense because they want to show the ship going into it.
Yeah, which is but.
They don't care about the story. They care about the moments.
Yeah, but so I guess after that he then goes into the obliterated Sarlacc remains to try and find the Beskar. He's like, yeah, I've looked and it's not in there.
That means that not even a seismic charge would destroy Beskar.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess so, actually, yeah.
Not even a seismic fucking charge that can rip asteroids apart can destroy Beskar armor.
Yeah, going by Boba's logic anyway. So he gets out, and then I guess that's when we get the line of dialogue that, okay, look, the Beskar saved you from the from the stomach acids. That it served its purpose, and then she's like, "What you need is a bacta tank," and I'm just like, "Oh, no, Fennec."
Because then we have to watch all of this again.
Because all this will have to happen again if he does that.
Yeah.
So they finally have this this little camp, and it's at this point that we literally get the only expository dialogue, to my knowledge, in the entire show, explaining, or at least trying to explain Boba's new way of acting. And he basically makes the proposition to Fennec and says, basically, I'm starting a family, and I need brains, I need muscle, and you're both. And then he tries to sympathize with her. They sympathize with each other and say, like, I'm tired of working for idiots who are just going to get our kind killed. Like, how many times it happened? I mean, this part I can get behind, because obviously, the separatists in the prequels and the Sith who dragged his father into something that was probably way bigger than he was, and it eventually got him killed by Mace Windu. And obviously, having Boba just wait around to then face off against the Jedi and then being pushed into a Sarlacc pit for that duration of time. I mean, at this point, I can get behind the fact that he is tired of putting his life in the hands of people above him. So in order to make things better for his kind, he would want to be the guy on top calling the shots. Like, that is fine. Like that I don't have an issue with any of that. Like, that is completely fine, and I can get behind that. But then obviously he starts to talk about the Tuscans again, and then that's when we start to run into some issues. He literally says the Tuscans took me in and made me one of their own.
No, they didn't.
That's
they
the thing with that.
Him, enslaved him, beat him to a pulp, potentially for years, and then only allowed him a slice of humanity when he defended them from something that would have killed all of them instantly.
Yeah, because exactly. I mean, it's not like we have seen, evidence of Tusken Raiders literally like working people to death and beating them until they. I mean, with Shmi Skywalker, for example, that's exactly what happened with her.
Yeah,
Anakin's mother.
You could argue that they only accepted him in because they realized this guy, if he ever gets to full strength, will just kill all of us.
Yeah, which I think is a pretty plausible argument to make.
So they in no way took him in terms of like a family.
Yeah, no, I mean, obviously, if that theory is true, then yeah, like, and then he goes on about saying, that you can only go so far without a tribe, which is a good line, but I think relating to the circumstances that we're in it's
complete bullshit for what he's referencing.
Yeah, no, exactly. And then so off that, it's the end of the flashbacks. We get another reminder of him shooting Bib Fortuna and taking Jabba's palace, and then then the flashbacks are over. We get a line that says, congratulations, you are fully healed. He then eventually decides to go show his face. So he goes back to the sanctuary, and we get the same montage of the goings on of well, not the exact same. We get another montage of like the goings on in the sanctuary, and you got
Lady with the head.
Lady with the head. Garsa Fwip, that was it. Yeah, but that's it. He doesn't even make himself known. He just sort of stands by the door, and then you got Black Chrysanthemum.
He just walks in and stands there.
Yeah, you got Black Chrysanthemum who gets way too pissed. He's like, he's on one. He's racked up quite the bar tab, and he's drunk and he's ready for a fight. And he sees these Trandosians like across the table, and he's just like, nah, these guys are going down. I don't like them. Which again, like I know that Wookiees and Trandosians have a big history together because Trandosians were famous for capturing and enslaving Wookiees. So obviously these races don't like each other. I know that. But that's because I've looked into all the expanded lore and everything. Like, you know, all they needed was really like one line to specifically state that these races have a history together for the audience to get it, because there are so many people who are going to watch this who have no idea what's going on.
Yeah, I had no
Yeah.
idea. When he started attacking them, I was like, why? I had no idea why he was attacking these people. I was so confused. Because he was viciously attacking them. It wasn't just like a bar fight. He was like ripping off their fucking arms and shit. And I was like, what is going on?
Yeah, because I remember one part in The Mandalorian where it was in the Ahsoka episode, The Jedi, where he was talking to Morgan Elspeth, the magistrate, and she's trying to hire him to kill Ahsoka, and she states just in one line of dialogue that the Jedi are the ancient enemy of the Mandalorians. You know, that's just one line, and you know that there is a history between these two beliefs, like these two factions. You know, just something like that would have done completely fine. But no, you got Cortana just literally beating the crap out of these Trandoshan, and he's got this one like held up, and Garza comes up and basically just says, "Oh yeah, you're not a gladiator anymore. The glory days are behind you. You've got nothing to prove. How about I just wipe your debt, your bar tab, and then we'll call it even." And he's like, "Nope." Rips the Trandoshan's arm off, which, by the way, Trandoshans can regrow limbs, so he's going to be completely fine. The guy ripped the arm off of, and then he just leaves.
See, I didn't know that either. I just assumed his arm was gone now.
Yeah, no, Trandoshans can regrow limbs. I mean, if his arm couldn't come back, Disney probably would have put it in there. But then again, they didn't really care to explain it, so I don't know. Anyway,
I don't even know why that scene was in there. Full stop.
To establish something which they never explain, I guess.
It's there to confuse people. It's just there to confuse people.
Yeah, so, I mean, obviously we know what happens next. Boba's like, "Hey, it looks like you could use a job." Again, just hiring anyone. And,
You, man, you attack random people in a pub. Do you want a job?
Yeah.
You've tried to kill me before. Do you want a job?
Unsuccessfully, mind you.
Yeah, you're the worst assassin I've ever seen. Would you like a job?
Yeah, you're even worse than Zam Whistle from Attack of the Clones, who tried to kill someone with worms. Yeah, you're that bad.
That probably makes more... I could probably find a way of making that make more sense than the way he tried.
Yeah, I'll just chuck him around. So now we get this Godfather-esque dinner scene with the rest of the factions, like the Trandoshans and the other factions. And he goes all like, "I'm gonna make you an offer you can't refuse." You know, he's trying to be totally Don Corleone from The Godfather, and
then proceeds to not do that at all.
And then they're just like, "Oh well, what's to stop us from just killing you and taking exactly what you want, or what we want?" And then we're like, "Good question." And then the Rancor is just like, a very appropriate timing.
Good question. I have a Rancor that in no way stops you from getting someone to kill me.
Yeah, and then it starts shaking up the place, and it's like, "Oh no, sit." It's like, dude, you can't be serious. Like, yeah, if it was a Rancor right under where I was sitting, I would not go close to 10 meters to where I was sitting if I found out that was lurking below me. And then they're just like, "Oh, okay, all right, fine."
And then eventually he tries to come to an agreement that they won't get involved, and it's like, you've offered these people absolutely nothing. Why are they going to do anything that you ask of them?
Yeah, but it is in this scene that the Matt Berry droid is translating a lot of what the alien race is saying, even though he said he needed a protocol droid like earlier on in the show.
This is the episode of, they forgot about that.
Yeah, basically, yeah. So yeah, this meeting ends like, "Oh yeah, I abide. Oh, we won't get involved. Promise." They all had like their fingers crossed behind their back.
Yeah.
Probably. And then so they all go off, and then they have Boba and Fennec overlook the town from the top of Jabba's palace, and they discuss muscle and credits. And Boba says, "I have plenty of credits, but what I'm short on is muscle." And they're just like, "Well."
And then it goes, "Ba-da, ba-da, ba-da, ba-da," and it's like, oh, okay.
It's like, oh well, I guess Mando's going to be showing up.
I guess he'll get a cameo in the next episode.
Yeah. And then the episode ends with us looking forward to the next episode where we might see the Mandalorian, because let's face it, at this point he's pretty sorely missed. Now there's just one more. There's just one thing I want to touch on before we finish this. Finish all about this episode. So they obviously show right in the flashbacks that Boba killing Bib Fortuna and claiming the throne, basically. To be honest, I think that scene there, which happened at the end of The Mandalorian Season 2, was probably the most impactful for like the world and the story than the rest of the Book of Boba Fett show. Because in that moment, he goes up, he takes control of like the crime world of Tatooine, like literally shoots his former boss, like his former superior, and takes the throne. You know, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, when I saw that in the Mandalorian Season 2, that got me fucking hyped up. I was thinking, wow, okay, like how are they gonna explain this? Like I honestly think setting a lot of this show without the after credit sequence, just having Boba and Fennec trying to take over Jabba's palace and become the daimyo of Mos Espa. Actually, that journey would have been much more interesting than this.
Well,
do you know what I mean? I feel like that would have been cooler, personally.
We haven't actually had any story since that moment.
No.
Like, things have happened and events have transpired, but no story has been told at all.
Yeah, no, not at all.
Not a single person has progressed through any kind of character arc. Like, Boba hasn't had a character arc. His character just changed at the very start of the show for seemingly no reason.
Yeah. Yeah, because we literally didn't even really get that many moments where it kind of showed Boba kind of being really evil and then kind of being, you know, or being really bad, and then him sort of being won over to a more moral side, you know, just sort of like all of a sudden, yep, cool, done.
And they've also not set up the spice stuff really at all. I don't think we've actually mentioned. I don't think it's been mentioned. It's been mentioned once on the train, and that's it.
Yeah, all we know is the Pikes want Mos Espa, and that's it. You know.
Do we know why they want it?
I don't think so. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but like,
so we don't even know.
We probably know that they're gonna be running spice, but like at this point, like the concept of the Pikes running spice, you know, running drugs on the streets of Mos Espa, just the concept of them being around and doing that just isn't enough for a hook. I mean, it's not enough to get me personally invested. You know,
it's not even enough to justify a war.
Yeah, it's just like, oh hey, we want the land, and no.
And like this episode is kind of the penultimate episode to the finale, really.
Yeah.
And nothing happened in it again.
Yeah, so it's just a mess, man. But anyway, yeah, those are the first 4 episodes of the Book of Boba Fett.
Yeah, how would you rate this one?
Well, this episode, oh god, I'll probably have to give it a strong 4 personally. Better than the last one, but it wasn't. I'd say out of the 4 we've talked about, episode 2 is probably my favourite, and episode 3 is my least favourite.
I'd go 3. I prefer it to episode 2.
But for all the wrong reasons, right?
Oh, I prefer it to episode 2 because it's less offensive in terms of its existence. Like the entire...
yeah. I'll take from that what I will, yeah.
The entire premise of episode 2 shouldn't happen, logically should not happen that way. Whereas at least in this one, that you can at least kind of justify some of it. The entire premise isn't utterly devoid of logic. Well, it is, but not as badly as episode 2.
Okay, yeah, no, fair enough. I just think episode 2, just on enjoyment factor, is probably better for me.
It has a better action. It has better action sequences in it, but they're only fun for the first time you watch it. I find action sequences fall on their ass when there's nothing to back them up on second and third viewings.
Yeah, that's very true. But no, either way, those are the first 4 episodes, so we're going to leave it there, and then we'll talk about 5 to 7 another time.
We'll jump into The Mandalorian season 2.5.
Oh yes, and of course, yeah, because we're getting to the hijacking episode.
Yeah. It is pretty much. It does pretty much become The Mandalorian from here on out. And like so much more happens in the beginning of the next episode than has happened at all up to this point.
Exactly, yeah. So, but yeah, that'll be a conversation for next time.
Yes, you can look forward to that. Listener number 4.
Listener number 4. Yeah,
Yes,
we'll go
I
with
like
that.
listener number 4.
We'll go with them.
Listener number 4 is my favourite listener.
Probably our final listener as well, to be fair.
Yeah, so thank you, final listener number 4.
Excellent. Right, okay. We'll sign off with that then.
Like a bantha. Yes? Maybe not.